Hello everyone and welcome to the B2B Tech Marketing Day 2021. We're so excited to have you with us here today. And we have a great lineup of speakers who will share a lot of things with us. More about that in a minute. My name is Jacob Lovenbrand. I'm the Managing Director of brightest, and I will be one of your hosts here this afternoon. And to my help, I have also Cecilia Byström with me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cecilia, and I'm the marketing manager at brightest. I'm so happy to be here. I will be helping coordinating everything here today and manage your questions as well as the technical stuff. And so I will be jumping in and out during today here. But I figured we can warm up a little bit with the chat. So we want you to use the chat today. So please type in the chat. We have let's see here. We have some people say they can't hear us. Let's see here. Okay, a lot of people hear us. I think you need to connect to the sound to your computer. Yeah, exactly. You need to click the audio button correctly. So I think, a lot of people say they can hear us. So I think it's good from our end. But then please just connect to your sound or try to log in and out again. And I think you should be. Exactly. The audio button is in the middle of the screen. Great. I hope we have everyone connected to the sound. And we have a question that we want to start out with today. And that is, what is your expectations on today? So, great. What's your expectations on today? What are you looking forward mostly to? Let's see here if we get any. Sophia wants to learn some of the latest trends for B2B marketing. Per wants to get inspiration. That's great. We can promise that. New ideas, inspiration from Charlotte. Awesome. Yeah, I think we can deliver that.
I definitely agree. I think we will see a lot of new ideas and so on, and come back to that in a minute when we'll present the topics. But before that, I also know that we have a lot of people who are calling in from different countries and different cities, and not only the Nordics. And if you would like, just write in the chat where you're from, guys, and see from what areas we're covering here. I know we have quite a few from all over Europe, but also outside Europe as well. So
wow, yeah, it's
Miami, absolutely.
Skåne.
Yeah, Poland, UK, Copenhagen, and not to mention Linköping in Sweden, Västerås, Finland, Italy. Great, so good to see everybody call in here. Stockholm, Yorkshire, UK. Awesome. I think we're and Djursholm. So we have a good mix around Sweden, Europe, as well as all the way to Miami. So that's
awesome.
Great. That's great.
Awesome.
And hopefully Ukraine as well. Yeah, so Ukraine to the east and Miami to the west and all the way between. So great, guys. So a little bit Espoo and Vienna as well. Thank you so much. So good to have you here. So just a short mention about why we're putting together this event. We are, just as you are, interested and passionate about B2B marketing, and we're looking forward to discuss those things with the people we have invited here today, because we also want to understand where are we moving, what's happening in sales and marketing, what trends do we see. There's a lot of MarTech coming along, and how do we handle that? Should we invest or should we wait? and in what categories in that case, and so on. Is there any best practices emerging that we can benefit from, and so forth? So we are interested in knowing more about this, just as you are, and we also want to give out a little bit of what we have experienced and learned over the years, and maybe we can together get insights, ideas, best practices, and things that can guide us in our decisions during 2021 and onwards. So we're really hopeful to that. And I think also, hopefully, we can interact with each other using the chat and trying to get your feedback during the sessions as well. So please feel free to interact as much as you can today so we can learn from each other and hopefully have a great experience. Also, maybe you wonder, who's Bright Vision and who are we who are arranging this today? Well, I started this company 20 years ago, and we are an agency who helps technology companies with marketing campaigns, growth marketing, and lead generation campaigns. And we've been doing this since 99, 2000, basically. So hopefully we can share a few of the things we have learned in my session later on here as well. But we do a lot of different kind of campaigns, outbound as well as inbound, and hopefully doing them in a way that drives the growth and the revenue increasing for our clients. So that gives you a little bit of background to Bright Vision and who we are. And we're so grateful to have you here today. Okay, moving on. Also, as a warm-up here.
Yes.
Over to you, Cecilia, again.
Perfect. Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, so we're going to warm up a little bit so everyone gets in the right mood. It's competition time. So listen carefully now, because there's a nice prize to win. We will have 3 quick questions about today's speakers, each at a time in the chat box. And the person who answers correctly first will get to spin the wheel that you can see behind Jacob. If you spin white, you win a marketing workshop from us at Bright Vision worth $500. If you spin green, you will get an umbrella sent to you, also a pretty nice prize. So we will have 1 winner for each questions. So everybody ready? And I will start with typing the first question in the chat. Okay, 1, 2, send. So Sangram Vajre is one of today's speakers. What's the name of his successful podcast? Whoever first types the first correct answer will get to spin the wheel. Come on, everybody. It's a very successful podcast. One of the... Oh, we have what? We have Sophia. She's first. Sophia Nilsson.
Flip my funnel. That's correct. Yay! Yoo-hoo!
Okay, Jacob.
And we have a green. An umbrella, I think.
Show it to us, Jacob.
Yay! From the capital of rainy weather, Gothenburg. We are have a lot of umbrellas here. Okay, next question.
Okay, next question. Next question. Good job, everybody. I'm sending the question now. Alessandra Posme is one of today's speakers. What is her area of expertise? Alessandra Posme, what's her area of expertise? What is she an expert in? Let's see. Oh, Gitte Nilsson. Great ABM. Woo!
Alessandra is an ABM expert. That's correct. ABM.
Did you spin, Jacob?
I think that's also an umbrella. You can choose. Yay!
Okay, congrats, Gitte. You will get an umbrella sent to you after today. And we have a final question here. Let's see. I'm typing it in the chat. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, send. AJWilcox is one of today's speakers. What social media channel? Oh, wow, that's fast. Woo. Tom.
Orlon de Toiling, you were fast.
No,
That's great.
No, Jacob, Tom was faster.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Tom was the fastest one. Sorry, Orlon. Actually, I think both should have umbrellas at least.
But have you have to spin for Tom? Have you done that already?
Yes, Tom, you get a green card. What was green, Cecilia?
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay, Tom, if you want a marketing workshop, $500, you get one, and an umbrella. I think we do both there.
Yeah, sure. Good, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your quick answers. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Orlon. I see you do a sad face there, but
no, you will get an umbrella as well.
Oh. Okay.
I call you out too soon, so definitely you should have the umbrella as well, Orlon. So sorry for that, my mistake.
Great. Okay, so that was fun, but let's move on to our next thing here, Jacob, before we start today.
Yeah, we have today's agenda here. It's a very exciting agenda, and it's so many great speakers around different topics that I hope everybody is interested in. But I will not read up the agenda. I will let every speaker present it by themselves. So, Cecilia.
Yes, and let's unmute Jacob.
Hi, my name is Christopher Engman. I'm the author of the Megadeals book. I also run Megadeals Advisory, and I am specialized around marketing sales for medium-sized and larger deals. And I'm going to talk to you about a few challenges that you find in a lot of B2B companies. So we will cover how that is influencing how you do your messaging architecture, what kind of content you should create. We'll go through 14 different martech and media tools, how you play them in a synchronized orchestra, and how you get marketing and sales to collaborate around those.
Hi, my name is Jacob Löwenbrand. I'm the Managing Director of Bright Vision. Today, I'm going to talk about category creation and why that is an important topic for every marketer, especially if you're in technology business. I hope you will check it out and learn more.
Hi, I'm Kayla Loeffler from Exceedient. Hope you're looking forward to my presentation on closed-loop marketing and how it helps B2B marketers stay agile, resilient, and reach your goals in 2021.
Hello, my name is Alessandra Postma, and I work as an ABM manager at Shutterstock. I hope you're excited to hear my presentation about my 3-year journey through uncovering the hard truths of ABM. Regardless of whether you're a seasoned ABMer or just starting out, this session applies to all those willing to lean into a whole new way of thinking about ABM strategy.
Sangram here. I'm super excited to share the magic formula, or the secret formula, if you will, of how to become a CMO. See, over the years, I have been in multiple CMO positions, and what I've realized is that most marketers don't even know what it takes to become a CMO. So tune in for my session on how to become a CMO in 2021.
Hi, I'm AJWilcox from B2Linked.com, and I hope you're excited to listen to me talk about what's new with LinkedIn ads in 2021. I'll see you there.
Great. Thank you for that. And we get back to the agenda. Let's see here. Awesome. We are almost ready to get started with our first speaker. I can see he is very anxious to get started. We can see him in the in the waiting room here, Christopher. But just some before we start, a couple of housekeeping items. I know it's boring, but we need to get through it. It will be fast. Okay, so today's tempo will be high. We will have 7 presentations until 4:30. So very high tempo, so you know. You can log in and log off how many times you want to if you just want to tune into a couple of presentations. And a recording will be sent out. Yes, I see a question. May I please ask if we will get the recording? Yes, you will. So it will be sent to you. And feel free to comment today's program in the chat. I will try to have a look at it all the time. So please feel free to communicate. And the agenda to this today can be found in the handout section to your right, just where you can see the chat. You have a handout section, and there you will have access to the agenda all today. And if you have any questions or concern or problem hearing anything, just write in the chat and we will figure it out together. Okay, Jacob. Oh, you are on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. So there you go. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, you muted again. just click for it.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So let's kick this off. Our first speaker is Christopher Engman. And I've had the pleasure to meet Christopher several times. And he is a serial entrepreneur who started several companies, not to forget to mention Vendemore, one of the ABM advertising platforms that was one of the pioneering in this space. But the last 2.5, 3 years, he has actually been doing research around how to close really big deals, so-called Megadeals, which actually turned into a book and a methodology that he refers to as Megadeals. And it's so great to have you with us here today, Christopher. And with that short introduction, great to have you, and over to you.
Thank you, Jacob. It's my pleasure. Yeah, actually, the journey around Megadeals started to some extent during my Vendemore years, but it's actually even a bit before that. So I've been running companies since I was 10 years old. My first adult company I started when I was about 25. It grew very fast. We were about 40 employees, but I had one struggle. All the sales was dependent on me. And in the beginning, that felt amazing. But after a while, that felt horrible because I couldn't get it to scale. So eventually, the growth flattened out, and we eventually actually failed the whole company, which was horrible. I lost a lot of money. I was even owing the Swedish government tax money, a horrible period. So I decided when I was about 30 that I will never fail growing a company because of lack of sales and marketing skills and how to scale that, especially when you sell into larger organizations, which is slightly different to selling into small companies. And that then became, so also during my Vendemore years, I can go back one. So running ABM for 10 years additionally added to that experience. So we were the first company in the world doing IP targeted advertising in 2007. So you could say that we were part of creating the category. And we quickly worked with over 100 Fortune 500 companies and over 400 scale-ups. We then sold the company, and what happened then is not my responsibility. I'm just kidding. It's a good company, but I think we could have done it better not selling it early. But anyway, that's another story. But those years doing ABM taught me a ton of things around larger deals, especially when we supported some of the biggest companies in the world with their largest deals. We had one bottleneck, and so different now. I had learned how to scale marketing and sales, but I was the bottleneck in the workshop. But the good thing about that is that I've been in so many tactical workshops around supporting a sales team to win a large contract with Tata, Siemens, some of the big airlines, SAP, Accenture, what have you, both in Asia, Europe, and North America. And that gave a lot of inspiration and insights into big deals. But it was also clear that there was no methodology for large deals. There were no books about it. All the books were about simpler sales. And it was even no books about how to combine marketing and sales into one discipline. But I'll show you some of that soon. A few words about me. So I'm the author of the Megadeals book. I've also written another book. I almost became a math scientist at one point. I did some work for the Swedish government, bringing down the forecasting error on capital gain tax from 80% to 4%. That book, though, is black and white, full of graphs and numbers. It's not very sexy. I'm an investor in 15 companies, of which a bit more than half I'm the lead investor. I founded a few companies, Vendemore among one of them, as you mentioned, Jacob. And the first company where we applied the discipline was a company called Climb on selling power plants. And we helped this company grow the order intake from $3 to $90 million in 2 years. And we got Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, a few others as investors as well. Now that could have been lucky, but it worked really well. And now we work with the 2 largest companies in the world. We work with a big number of scale-ups deploying the Megadeals discipline so that these companies in a more predictable way can do deals with larger companies. So my only sales slide is this. So we do workshop series of 4 half days. We also do bigger engagement where we help companies put what we call the factory in place. So during 6 months or longer, we actually come in and work with the client to set up the factory. I'll give you a glimpse of that soon. So back to the study. So we looked at the largest deals in the world. It was deals in North America, South America, Africa. So we looked at the biggest IBM deal in Morocco, for example. We looked at lots of European deals and Korean, Chinese, Japanese deals, Saudi Arabian deals, etc. We tried to get the global coverage. We also managed to find, actually, it's unfortunately the sales side of large is very male dominated, but we managed to get 40% women mega dealers to interview. But the most interesting thing is that we looked at the largest deals in the world, but then when we dropped one level down to kind of medium complex deals, we've noticed that there is no discipline there either on how to combine marketing, sales, social media, and PR into one discipline. So people often talk about the bad collaboration between marketing and sales. I think it has 2 reasons. The first reason is that you don't have a messaging architecture that is full funnel. If you have one, it's not full funnel. Typically, you have a good brand platform, good corporate values, but the messaging architecture is missing. So there is no common language to talk about the full funnel with the same vocabulary between marketing, sales, product, R&D, customer success, etc. The second one is a mistake that a lot of companies do. They're overly focused on the MQL. So that creates an abyss between marketing and sales. You create a lead and then you throw it over the fence to sales. Big mistake. I'll come back to that soon. Anyway, so majority of our clients are doing mid-sized deals, and the disciplines is applicable. It's actually not connected to the deal size. We thought it was in the beginning. Obviously, there's some correlation with the deal size. So it's typically slightly larger deals. But as soon as you sell into a matrix or a cube organized company, so they're no longer a pyramid, they're a matrix or even more complex, a cube, and you're not selling into one function, you're selling cross-functionally. So you to win the deal, you need to convince people from finance, from IT, from marketing, I don't know, supply chain management, what have you. And as soon as you also, at some point during the sales process, switch to be selling as a team. So you're bringing experts and you're teaming up around the deal. When these 3 apply, you no longer do traditional sales. You're doing orchestration. And Megadeals is an orchestration discipline. This is really a really important distinction. And the big thing that has happened is that digitalization has hit many industries, but has not left large deals alone. So it has hit media. Now Netflix and YouTube and those are dominating, no longer the national TV channels, etc. Retail, now Amazon, a former book store online, is the highest value company in the world. Transactional B2B has moved from cold calling to content search, forum films, and online demos. Politics, Obama was really early using digital media and social media to win elections. We even have one team member from Bosnia. Her hometown is actually like yours, Jacob. It's the size of Gothenburg. And the mayor, the new mayor there is a 26-year-old guy. He's very smart, but he's 26 years old. He's the mayor of a city with 500,000 inhabitants. And he completely crushed the others using digital and social media. And it has also hit the large deals. It used to be the slightly gray-haired men going around shaking hands, having dinners, etc. Now it's completely dominated as well by digital media and social media. So that's a big transition going on. And also, not just the marketing side, but the sales side. The salespeople need to become more hybrids. They need to be sales and marketing hybrids. So we're helping clients with that. This is probably for you who are marketeers on this call. This is an interesting one. So the best Megadeals companies in the world are spending an equal amount of money on marketing as they do on sales. And this number will be even more dominated by marketing in the coming years. So it's very hard to grow revenue now by adding salespeople. So it's easier to have great salespeople, but you back them up with amazing marketing. That is a more successful formula than the other way around. So before you could see the Excel and you added revenue by adding FTEs, and then you had a delay until they started to pick up revenue. But now it's different. Now it's the large B2B deals are also marketing driven. Another thing to actually note in your books is that the balance of money between lead generation, pipeline acceleration, so ongoing sales cases, and existing client needs to be balanced. Here we see the laggards are spending way too much on leads, and they completely underinvest into the ongoing sales cases and the existing clients. And also the split between content and distribution needs to be more balanced, where you have 50% on content production and 50% on content distribution, making sure it reaches the right audience. These are 6 mistakes that we frequently see in our clients. So first of all, there's a very high rainmaker dependency. Even some of the largest companies in the world have 4 or 5 names that are really, they need to be present. One of them at least needs to be present to close a large deal. We see the same in scale-ups, so kind of mid-sized, fast-growing companies, very high dependency on a few rainmakers. And the answer here is not to make more rainmakers, but to take away tasks from them and place them closer to the penalty box. Messaging is sometimes non-existing, so there's good brand platform, good corporate values, but the messaging is all over the place. And if it exists, it's just top of the funnel. It needs to be full funnel. Companies are way too lead-centric as opposed to deal-centric, and most of the larger deals are done in a very ad hoc way, not in a systematic way. Salespeople and leaders need to become more media. We see a lot of people that are brilliant in front of a group, but all of a sudden when you put them in front of a camera, they're completely lame. I'm sure some of your colleagues, you can see that in some of your colleagues. Companies are also talking way too much about themselves as opposed to their clients. I'll show you some about messaging, but this is a very short session, so I'll be super speedy. For those of you who want deeper content, I have lots of videos that I can share with you as a link if you ping me on LinkedIn or anything, Christopher Engman. So when you move from sales dialogue into an orchestration method, you need to bring in more things. So I'll share with you quickly what we call the 5 cornerstones, the 5 big insights around larger deals. And they then influence how you build your messaging, how you develop your brands, how you run the sales dialogues, how you do your marketing, and what you do in social media. What we call the factory consists of a few layers. So you need to have a well worked out messaging architecture, full funnel, and not just done by marketing, it's done by sales, marketing, product, customer success in collaboration. Once you've done that and agreed on it, you can then create amazing content really fast. And where the content is no longer going, oh, we marketing did this, but we in sales, we don't even want to share that because it's not really in line with what we're saying. And then you have, we're using 14 different MarTech and media techniques. I'll share some of them with you. So it's a few, we call it production lines, like in a factory. And marketing needs to go away from these ad hoc campaigns. It needs to be more systematic. So the big 5 cornerstones or big 5 insights around large deals. The first one is that if your business is not aligning with the customer's key initiatives, it's very hard to bring out the big money. In medium-sized and large companies, the key initiatives are typically 3 to 5, and these initiatives include big money. You can find small pilot money outside of these budgets, but the big money is found within these initiatives. You then need to understand the ecosystem around the deal, and here companies make the mistake of underestimating significantly the number of hidden stakeholders inside the account you're selling to, but also outside the account. So sometimes strategic consultants that are advising the customer, representatives for a variety of systems that you need to interface with. If they are negative to you, it's not good at all. So you need to understand the whole ecosystem around the deal. And number 3 is very much up to marketing to help sales, like in a political election, drive votes. We need to win the consensus war inside of the client. So another finding is that every person we've interviewed say that we need Trojan horses. Trojan horses they're not the champions, so they're not the ones that are loudly taking your stand internally. These are the guys who are typically sitting close to the problem. Their way of exercising power is that they give you vital information that you wouldn't get otherwise. And it's good to have at least 2, preferably 3 or more Trojan horses, so you can triangulate the information you're getting from them. We also find double agents. So some people pretend that they're on your side, but are actually on your competitor's side. So they play with you to get the information that they then share to your competitors. And we as marketing and sales executives, we're trained to talk value, unique selling points, etc. The larger deals are different. So here you use value and differentiation to come to the table. But the thing that wins the large deals is how you mitigate risk. Large companies, especially larger sums, they are really risk focused. So you need to look at the risks that customers taking by jumping in bed with you. So what do we say and when? The messaging architecture, the slowest I've done it in is 3 hours. So I have 3 videos. So ping me and you get 3 one-hour videos about messaging. I'll give you a quick intro to it. So the fundamental messaging is taking the customer from unaware to wanting to buy from you. That doesn't mean they buy, as you know. Then deal closing messaging is taking them from wanting to buy to buying. And orientational messaging is increasing the audience size around your topic, making it bigger. Actually, Megadeals, as Jacob mentioned, I started Vendemore now soon 15 years ago. When we wanted to make ABM bigger, we talked about Megadeals, because all of a sudden we went from having 3 people in the room to 50 people in the room, and also some of the group leaders, top executives. So orientational messaging is to take, we sometimes use the analogy of an Aston Martin car. You talk about the much bigger topic, the Bond movie, but you are the Aston Martin car. So you place yourself in a bigger context. This session is way too short for this full one, but I'll give you a piece of the most important one. So here, companies are talking way too much about themselves. Why us? The slightly better ones are talking about what are the problems they're solving, and then they're quickly moving into why us. So the best companies are talking also about something we call category and subcategory choices. So if you have a growth problem, for example, the obvious answer is not to engage Megadeals. It might be get a new CRM, do some sales training, change the color of your website. There are quite a few options. And for us, typically, the messaging tree or the decision tree around this is that we talk, you've seen that, we talked about this political election trend, that digitalization also has hit the larger deals. Customers are then going, oh, we need to do something here. They typically first look, do we have this expertise internally? And even if they do, those experts are typically carrying a lot of load, so it's not easy to get them to train the others, and they don't have the methods to train the others, so they look, okay, we need external expertise. If that is a choice, then they move down one level, and when it comes to external expertise, they typically look at, okay, we use a marketing agency, a sales training coach, a LinkedIn expert, or we bring in someone who has a unified discipline where marketing, sales, social media, etc., is synchronized around enterprise deals or mega deals. And then when you go to the lowest level, why us, then we can talk about a lot of scale-ups as clients, 9.5 out of 10 in customer score. We work with Siemens and Tata, so the 2 biggest companies in the world, etc., etc. Anyway, I just wanted to, so this is 1/3 of the messaging architecture and a very light version of it. Then you produce content, so aligned with basically this whole, so aligned with the fundamental messaging, the deal closing messaging, and the orientational messaging. You're producing, in our systematic model, it's 29 different videos, and it's everything from 30 seconds teasers that are selling basically the problem you're trying to solve, to a pitch video. There's a 3-minute version covering all 4 layers in this model, and then an explainer video, which is kind of replacing the first meeting with the client. Deep dives are, so typically when a customer want to buy from you, they go, okay, really love what you do. We probably want to buy. We just have a few questions. So what about GDPR compliance? Can we have a meeting about that? Or what about an integration with this other system? Can we have a meeting about that? So here you benefit from actually producing videos that are answering the majority of those questions. So you can really cut waste from your sales and marketing flow. Okay, how do we blend MarTech and media? So the simple recipe is to have a great messaging architecture in the bottom. You then produce videos, articles, slide decks, etc. on the messaging architecture. And same with PR, social media, and advertising. The slightly more complex model includes 14 different techniques of MarTech and media. So obviously, the thing we invented 2007, so you target the IP numbers of the most important customers you're trying to sell to, or existing clients that you want to grow. Just a quick note here. So never, ever use IP targeting as a lead generation technique. It's way too expensive. It's great to use on ongoing sales cases and existing clients that you want to grow. We're blending it with IP targeted native advertising. So the first one is display. The second one is purchased article space, also IP targeted. And then we're using 7 different retargeting techniques and something we call person targeting, where we research the most important names in Instagram and Facebook, and we drop sponsored posts to them. We're also recommending a technique called bee swarming, which is where you visit as a team. So every Monday meeting, we and our clients are sharing a list of people to visit this week. So you visit them as a team on LinkedIn, and what then happens, imagine if 5 people from Megadeals would be on your profile the same day. You would go, did they just have a meeting about me, or what happened? So that's one of the methods that you want to use. I mean, basically you want to achieve the feeling of that you are on TV, radio, outdoor, online for that account. So that's why we blend so many things. Here is an example where a few of my previous colleagues were visiting, this was from Climon, were visiting Ingvar Gardason in Iceland, and many others, and simultaneously. And after a while, he was like, who are these Climon? And he started to check us up, and 3 months later, we did the €30 million deal. So this is an example flow. So here, a big IT company is trying to win Bank of America, a contract with them. So for the management team, they're targeting those individuals with Instagram and Facebook. They're blending it with LinkedIn ads, and we drop teaser videos early and also some insight-based content. We then want to drop the pitch video. Some of the content we never drop in media. It's only dropped by the sales team through email links. Like, okay, great, Stephen, we just had this meeting. You were asking about this integration and GDPR compliance and user training. So let's have a meeting about those 3. But first, have a look at these 3 videos, and then you can list what are the questions that we didn't cover. So what's the delta that we can focus on together in a concentrated meeting? So not only does it cut away a lot of time from your staff and relieves time for your best people, it actually also takes away pretty boring things. Like some of your experts are not really fancying answering the GDPR compliance for the 71st time. And then you're using IP targeting to drop some of the lighter content at a grand scale to all employees. And here's more bottom of the funnel. Oftentimes companies that we work with compete more with other subcategories than direct competitors. This is an eye-opener for many when we do the messaging architecture exercise. They're like, oh, we lose a lot of deals to completely different companies. We were talking only about competitors, but we're losing deals to other type of companies. And what you want to do with this discipline is to be better at prioritizing segments and accounts. You also want to position out not just competitors, but also substitutes thanks to the categories and subcategories. You want to ensure a broad entry. This is important because when you sell to large organizations, it's very easy to get stuck with the wrong person, and they say, no, we are not interested, as if they represent the whole company. And anyone who's sold to big companies know that they're like 52 armed octopuses. You can come in through many doors, and just because one say no, it doesn't mean much. And you also want to replace repetitive tasks at the bottom half of the funnel, taking away unnecessary time from your most important stakeholders. And you want to be able to amplify the dialogues in the customer to win votes. So I leave some time from Q&A, but so you can ping me if you want a 50-minute more detailed version of this session, either to my email in the bottom or on LinkedIn. I also have a video about the 4 half-day workshops and a few other things. And our podcast is pretty popular. The Megadeals podcast, you find it on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, all channels. Great. Jacob and the team, time for questions.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. Yeah, that was a great presentation. Let's see if we have any questions for Christopher. Please type them in the chat. We have a few minutes to answer questions, so don't hold them in too long. Sophia asks here if a smaller company can make a mega deal as well.
Well, the thing is, in the book, we define a mega deal as being $10 million and up. But what we have seen in the last year is that we have, actually, majority of our clients are SaaS companies. SaaS scale-ups is the biggest group of clients we have. And what they typically need to do when they go somewhere around $3 to $7 million in ARR, they need to go towards larger organizations. They can't sell anymore to the small companies. They need to go upstream. And typically they need to change their methodology because it's a different beast. To deal with a pyramid organization is much easier than dealing with a matrix or cube. So definitely. But what do you mean by small? I would say our smallest client is probably 15 employees. So it's not really for startups. You need to have a proven commercial model and technology, but then you can start to scale it with a discipline like ours.
Awesome. And we have 2 more questions. I don't think we have time for more, but we have a question from Lena here. At which customer journey stage would you use for IP targeting? Which customer journey stage?
Yeah, I love that question. It's a perfect one. So here, I mentioned this quickly, but don't use it for lead generation. It's not meant for that. There are other techniques that are way cheaper. IP targeting, though, is amazing for your ongoing sales discussions and your existing clients, because then you want to win votes. You want to win the consensus war. You want to increase the temperature around your decision. So yeah.
Awesome. And for startup, would you advise using IB targeting? If not, when would be the right time to use it? Yeah, similar question.
Well, it's typically a threshold in spend. It differs between vendor and vendor. InSync is one that we often use. I think they have a very flexible start, but some companies have a more rigid, like you need to spend at least $10,000 or up. But they're quite big. Yeah, you have InSync, you have demand base, you have quite a few. Terminus that Sangram is from, which is, by the way, a good friend of mine. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. And then we have, I'm sorry for stressing, but we have a tight schedule. What arguments are the best to change sales teams' way of working, cold calling towards working like this?
Well, the cool thing is that, and we eat our own dog food, as the Americans call it. We don't call any client. We don't even email any client. We're using our own methodology. We're only 16 people. We're growing fast. We're not doing mega deals. Our deals are way smaller, unfortunately. But we still use the mega deals discipline. And we just have a ton of incoming requests. And we're feeding them We don't say, yes, we have a meeting with you. No, when we get a request, we say, here's a 50-minute summary of our discipline. Have a look at that. Once they've seen that, we drop them some other thing more concrete about our offerings. Then we have a meeting. So we're meeting a client that is qualified. So the answer to the question is that very few salespeople like cold calling. So they'll sit with the world that they become more known, not just the company, but themselves as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christopher. I don't think we have time to answer more questions now, but we will collect the ones we didn't have time to answer, and then you can answer them afterwards, and we will email out the answers. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christopher. That was an awesome presentation. And
thank you, guys.
We learned a lot there.
Very short, but I hope it gave you something.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so next presentation. Great. So now we will hear from you, Jacob. And you are the founder and CEO at Bright Vision and an expert in marketing for tech companies. And today you will share your thoughts on why category creation is the ultimate growth strategy. So we're very excited to hear, Jacob. Please take it away. Let's see.
Yeah, thank you, Cecilia. Yes, and I'm going to talk about
there we go.
There we go. Yeah, why category creation is the ultimate growth strategy, or at least one of them. And it's actually tied in very nicely now with Christopher's presentation, where he brought up the need of positioning yourself and your solution within a category. And that's what I'm going to talk about. And this is a topic that's actually trending last year and have come up in more and more articles and things. And we have actually been working with this for quite some years, since we are working with tech marketing, and category design is one of the important areas there. But I'll take it from the top. What we have discovered at Bright Vision, also after doing some 5,000 campaigns and counting over the years for different tech companies in the B2B space, is that the best products do not always win. The best products do not always create the most interest, or getting the most leads, or getting the most attention or awareness. But one correlation that is very, very clear is that when we have a defined category leader, a company where you perceive is the leader of a product category, they almost always get better results, more leads, more awareness, and so forth, and stronger bang for the buck, basically, in their marketing. And so we will talk a little bit about this. What's a category? Let's start there. Well, a category, a product category, or a company category, it's a way for us to categorize and relate to companies and products. We are overwhelmed today by new technologies, new solutions, new systems, new software, new tech, for example, that will help us with all kinds of problems in sales and marketing. And we need to sort them in some way and organize them, so we know, is there a solution for this problem, or is it for another problem, or whatever is this, you know? So in our minds, we like it or not, it's sorting out all these kind of things. And when we read about new company we haven't come across before, we start unconsciously putting it into some of our buckets in there in order to get a label on it and say, yeah, okay, it's a CRM software, I know, okay, good, it's in that bucket. So that's how the human brain works. And when we come across a problem, we want to see if we can address it with one of categories that we have somewhere in the back here, solving that problem, which was exactly what Christopher said in his presentation as well. What we do, Sam, also a bit unconsciously, is that we start ranking the different vendors or solutions we have in those buckets when we start thinking about it more actively. And for some reason, we're biased to buy from the leader. We want to have somebody who is, when we want to talk to somebody, we want to know they're able, competent, and so forth, have been around the block a few times, etc. So very many times we are biased to buy from the leader of the category. Some of you have seen this chart. I had the privilege to interview Scott Brinker, who's AKA the chief martech.com guy. He have developed this martech technology landscape map for 10 years, and this is the later version. When it started out 10 years ago, it consisted of 150 companies that provided software and technology solutions for a marketing area. Today, it consists of over 5,000 companies. He has sorted into 6 major categories and in total 48 subcategories within the marketing technology area. It's a huge area of technology that have exploded over the years. So it's really hard to keep track of all the companies and not even to mention all the subcategories. But he's doing a great job on that. Another map that is also a little bit newer is Nancy Nardine's sales tech landscape, which is a similar way, but also more focused on the sales technology, which is also a booming area of technology that applies to all of us who's in sales and marketing. And we also see a lot of new subcategories evolve and start making their way into those maps. And if we zoom in a little bit on one of these categories, we see that in sales coaching software, we actually right now in this map have 33 companies who are all competing for the market share and for the clients who are interested in the sales coaching software category. And that's very interesting because, what do you do when you're in this category and you're referring to the other ones and competing for the market share there? And this could be in any discipline, so to say. It's not only marketing and sales technology, of course. This is in any particular tech area. What we also need to know when we talk about product categories is that they relate to the technology adoption lifecycle that Jeffrey Moore so well laid out for us a few years back. That when a new product category, often based on some kind of new tech that's been invented or commercialized, and a few vendors end up in that category, it starts moving through the adoption lifecycle. And as you know, it's not a linear curve. It's actually a curve that's similar to this, where we have a chasm. But the important thing here is that all tech categories want to end up in the tornado phase, because that's where a product category growth with a 10x factor in a very short term of time. So when a technology is in that space, it will create a huge growth maybe in just a 2-3 year time period. And that creates, my friends, a lot of interesting companies that will grow a lot. And the thing that drives this very quick adoption of a product category that enters this phase and grows so quickly is buyer risk. When you start out evangelizing a new category, it typically is technology enthusiasts and visionaries that buy that technology first, and then it's mature at some point, going into the majority market or the early adopters, who are more or less pragmatist buyers, business line managers, and so forth. And they are risk averse. They are not visionaries. They are the ones cleaning up after the visionaries got fired, they typically say. So the reasoning is often that we want to buy technology to enhance our processes and solve problems, but we don't want to buy new tech and new product categories too early, because we might end up with immature technology. But if we buy it too late, we might end up actually exposing ourselves for a competitive disadvantage, because we're too late implementing new processes, new systems, new automation tools, etc., that actually get us getting behind the curve, and our competitors advances ahead from us. And this risk averse buyer mentality creates a herd mentality, which we talk a lot about these days. But everybody wants to buy at the same time, because that's risk averse, and that creates the tornado phase. And when a product category flattens out after a 10x growth period of time, typically around 2-3 years, 4 maybe, it ends up like this. We typically have one big company, the gorilla, as Jeffrey Moore calls it. We have 3, 4, 5 half big companies in this category, the chimps, and then we have the niche, the companies that didn't catch the wave, the ones who didn't grow as fast and missed the train, so to say, the monkeys, which are probably niche companies at this point of time. And it's an interesting part of this is that the category leader, the gorilla that ends up as a leader of this product category, ends up, due to research done by Eddie Yoon, who's written a lot about this in Harvard Business Review, the market cap of this category, the valuation of the companies, if you like, ends up to 76% to the gorilla, to the market leader of this product category. That makes it very important for us as marketeers and salespersons to know that we need to jockey for the leading positions. It might even be a survival thing for a company if you're in a growth product category. So what we see is the gorilla gets 76% of the total market cap, and the other companies are competing for the 24 rest of the valuation of this product category. And the interesting conclusion that most researchers do from this area called category design, category creation, is that the company that designs the category is best positioned to dominate the category. So the company that designs the category is best positioned to dominate the category. And this is primarily for marketeers to think about, and of course executives overall, because you need to be conscious about what category are we in. Are we fighting for market share in an existing category that is probably invented and driven by somebody else's vision? Or are we actually branching out and doing our own? Is it enough to be great at category design in order to win a category? No, you need a great product, of course. That's a must. But in order to be a gorilla or jockey for the gorilla position in a category, you need to pursue the magic triangle, as it's called. You need a combination of a great product. You need to design a category where you can become the thought leader and dominate that one. But you also need to design a company culture and a great company in itself. And companies who is good at this and have succeeded doing that most often end up as the gorilla of their category. One company that has done this extremely well is HubSpot, which is also pretty much known for all sales and marketing persons. And what we see in HubSpot is that they have a good product. It's one of the marketing leaders in product matrices, which we soon will see. It's up there in the upper right quadrant, so to say. But they also invented a story around their product. They started actually the inbound marketing movement, and they came along with all these attract, engage, delight processes and so forth, and built a whole movement around that. And not only that, they are also really intentional about their company culture. They have published a culture code that's been downloaded over 5 million times on SlideShare and so forth. So it's a lot of things they have got going here together, which also have catapulted them into a market gorilla position in their category. So let's just exemplify that. If we go into G2 Grid for marketing automation, G2 is, for those of you who didn't know, a category ranking company. They keep track of how user satisfaction is, but also the vision or the innovation phase a company has. And if we see in the grid for marketing automation tools, we see HubSpot has the upper right position. So it's definitely a market leading position from a product perspective. Not so far down there, we see SharpSpring, which is also a very well-known marketing automation platform today, which is also, from a feature perspective, have pretty much the same feature set, even though maybe it's a little bit smaller in scope and so forth. And then we have a lot of other contenders or vendors or providers of similar systems and functionality here. So it's hard. Most of these are not public traded companies, but these two are. And if we look at the market cap on SharpSpring versus HubSpot, we see that SharpSpring has a market cap as of earlier this week of $249 million. That's a great valuation for a software company, but it's not so big compared to HubSpot. HubSpot has a market cap of $22 billion. That's a gorilla valuation. And it's actually 88 times larger market cap compared to SharpSpring. And that is actually the case for many tech companies that have come out as the category leader of their product category after the tornado phase is flattening out. And if you can't watch the capitalization or the market cap of a company, you can look for signs like these. In-person pre-COVID events of 15,000 persons or more, where a company have a conference for 3 days talking about their story, their processes, their tools, and so forth, and people shows up in volume. So that's so interesting. Since companies that create and evangelize this category is most likely to dominate it, we all need to think about, should we become category designers? Should we rethink how we are positioning our solutions, our products, or our company against competitors or against other product categories? And this has become a hot topic for many marketing departments over the last year, actually. And that's something we need to talk about. One thing you need to have in place in order to do this travel, and where you go from being a competitor, competing for market share in an existing product category defined by somebody else, and branching out and trying to see if should we be something else, you need to have a unique point of view. You need to have some kind of story, as HubSpot came along with the inbound marketing movement and said, no, we're not doing marketing as it used to be. We're doing it the inbound way. And that actually positioned them in a way that was very hard for competitors to position against. If, for example, Marketo or Loca would come along and have the big book of inbound marketing, they would actually, with that strong positioning, drive clients towards HubSpot. So you understand what I'm looking for here. You need to find your radical differentiation and your unique point of view in order to be able to define your own category. And if you do that, it's a lot of value in that creation. A few examples of this. Salesforce. You know, Salesforce came along in '99 when Mark Benioff came up with the idea that, he should do a cloud-based CRM system, which was a very new idea at that time. Back in '99, every company bought their own technology and the software, and they installed it on service that they had in-house in the server rooms and so forth. And he came along and said, no, you shouldn't buy software, rent it. And by the way, I hope let us run it for you on our service. Just let us have your data on customers, the forecasting, the sales data, the customer contact databases, and so forth. And people at the time thought, you're nuts. CIOs will never let that kind of data outside the company. And the rest is history. He practically innovated by himself the cloud computing discipline, which some people actually say is one of the top 10 innovations the last 20 years. It have reformed the whole tech industry and so forth. That was not the only thing he came along with, the technology or the product offering. He also invented the on-premise word. We never referred to technology as on-prem before they started talking about it at Salesforce. On-prem, you're having your solution on-prem. Have you thought about having it in cloud? So do you see the same thing here? He's not positioning himself against other CRM solutions. He's positioning Salesforce against on-prem solutions. That's a whole new category. So that was just as innovative as the cloud offering in itself. A lot of companies say, but we're in a crowded market. It's hard to just carve out a new nature and, go do something radically different. we're a system provider and we've done this for 20 years and so forth, and it's hard to just, woohoo, now we're doing something else. Understand that. But keep in mind that when somebody a few thousand years back invented the wheel, it was actually turning on the side because they used it for pottery. It took 300 years before somebody said, I wonder what happens if we take that on side and use it for transportation as a use case instead. That's a great idea. Why didn't we come up with that before? And I think it's possible to do just as we did 5,000-10,000 years back in the humanity history when we flipped the wheel and used it for transportation. To do that and also establish categories and maybe spin out a totally new category, a subcategory or something like that. So you can become a big fish in a smaller pond, and you can be the dominator in that and the dominating force, and also come up on top and being the gorilla in the newly formed subcategory to your bigger discipline. A few companies that have done this really well in quite tight spaces is, for example, Lessonly. Lessonly is an LMS solution. They are doing online learning portals. And that's a really crowded space. There's hundreds of LMS solutions today. But they thought about this a few years back and said, no, we're not an LMS solution. We are a training solution. We train people to do better work. And we specialize in sales training and a few other areas. And they created a whole story around this. They put out the book in the market called Do Better Work. And they have a tagline, when we do better work, we live better lives. And they created a whole new category in training instead of being just an LMS system. So it's possible to do that in a crowded space. Another example is screen recording area, a quite established product category. I've used screen recording for maybe 15, 20 years, recording different demos and so forth. 3, 4, 5 years ago, a new company came along called Loom and said, yeah, we're not a screen recording. We are a video messaging company. We do not compete with other screen recorders. We compete with text messaging. We compete with Outlook, with Slack, with Teams, because we have a smarter and quicker and more productive way to communicate with people. And they are killing it, just like Lessonly do. They are growing much faster than the category in itself. And coming out, I don't know if they're coming out on top because they are in the growth phase, but they are doing really, really well in a crowded space just because they took the wheel on the side and said, we're something else. We're competing not with the other providers. We're competing with text-based communication. So, in sum, if you want to take your wheel, maybe you can go and design a new category and develop a unique point of view that can actually try to be a totally new category that you can become the dominator of and hopefully come out of top with 76% of the market cap value in that category. With that said, thank you so much. That was what I had in store for you. Now we have maybe 1 or 2 minutes for questions, Cecilia.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Great presentation as always. We have 2 minutes for questions. So you actually got one question during your presentation from Thomas, who is asking if you suggest that we should do an investment in SharpSpring.
Absolutely. That might be a good idea. I won't do any stock recommendations here, but that could be a good idea.
Great. And then we have another question from Alena. How to convince a potential buyer at low risk of purchasing an early market tech product in my category, especially when the company has no brand on the market?
Yeah, I think that could be very interesting. I think it. Yeah, let me think about that. I think it's.
Do you want me to reread the question? Okay. I think we lost Jacob, but that's fine. I'm here facilitating, and actually, I can see that we have our next speaker in the waiting room. So let's see here if she can connect to sound and audio. Let's see here. That was not the right. Let's see here. There we go. And that.
Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, just give me 1 sec and I will play my introduction. Okay, so awesome. Our next speaker today is Trude Berg. Awesome to have you here, Trude. With 30 years in the software and marketing and sales industry, Trude Berg has a wealth of valuable knowledge and experience. And Trude, you joined Symmetry in 2012 and became marketing director in 2015 with a mission to centralize and modernize the marketing organization. A journey that you will talk more about in your session. Hi, good to have you here.
Great. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly fine. I'm opening up your presentation now. Do you see it?
I can see it. Do you also see me, or do I have?
No, I actually don't see you. So I think you can click on the camera.
I click on the cameras.
Pretty soon here. Let's see. No, we can't see you. That's unfortunate. Let's see. We can see your slides though.
Oh, okay. Let's go with that then. I put makeup up on myself today. It's look pretty.
Let's try to click on the camera button again through the and see if we can see you.
I'm clicking like crazy.
Don't do that. Just click once. That might be the problem.
Cecilia, i dina hörlurar. Okay.
Should I try click again? It worked when we tested, didn't it?
Yeah, it should work. It should really work. But let's see here if I click on camera and slide. Oh, that's so weird. I only hear you. Okay, but that's let's do it. Do you see your slides through that? Then you can just take it away without the camera.
Okay, good. So, hi guys. As Bright Vision's staff explained, I'm here to talk a bit about how to organize a large international marketing department with the right leadership. Let's see how that goes. So first of all, and now I'm changing slide. You can see that, right? Am I coming through? Sophia? Okay, so I have no idea. Yes, great, thank you. So as Sophia said, my name is Trude Berg. It's not the last name. It's actually Trude is my first name and Berg is my last name. I work as a marketing director and now chief brand officer at Symmetry Europe, and I've been doing that for some years. As a person, I am a result-driven, energetic person. I like to achieve goals, and I have Myers-Briggs personality test says that I'm an ENTJ, which means fast and furious, which then leads to my life motto. Sophia asked me, can you come up with a good quote? And I thought long and hard, and due to my personality, this is the best I can. Sorry for my poor French, but this is how I think when I end up in a situation where I need to be bold and brave and maybe take decisions that are challenging for me. I always ask myself, will someone die or will I self-die if I make this decision? And if the answer is no, go for it. And I will just give you a short, brief update on what Symmetry is, what kind of animal we are. So Symmetry was founded in Sweden in 1989, so we've been around for 30 plus years. We are number 3 worldwide Autodesk Platinum partner, and we develop our own IP, our own products. And we support innovative companies in the building and infrastructure manufacturing industry to help them optimize their working methods and make them more competitive. We deliver leading edge technology and expertise for people who make things. If you have ever driven a high performance car or admired a towering skyscraper, use a smartphone or watch a great film, chances are that you experience what millions of Autodesk customers are doing every day and also using our software. Over the years, we've grown and developed to fit our customer needs, from being a product sales company and a pure Autodesk reseller to a more customer-centric organization and a strategic business partner to our customers. Today, we have 450 employees and we operate in Northern Europe with 23 offices in the Nordics and UK. We have about 150,000 users, and in 2019, we had a turnover of 160 million euros. One important note for you to know when I'm doing my presentation here is that you should know that 80% of the staff working for Symmetry Europe are male engineers. And we are a bit tick in the top, meaning age-wise. Now I set the stage for you. We have aggressive growth plans for the next 5 years, both organic and through acquisitions in new geos. So we are going to expand in Europe and in other regions. That was that about Symmetry. Let's go back to the start point in 2015 when I was assigned this job as a marketing director. We were organized by country with a country manager in each of the 4 Nordic countries. These 4 countries consisted of many different companies we had acquired over the years, leading to the fact that we as a company were not aligned in culture, platforms, processes. Pretty much nothing were aligned. And we had a big king in each country who made all the decisions. Marketing resources were reporting to sales managers in the country and had a sort of a jack of all trades roles, from janitor to receptionist. They didn't have a marketing plan or marketing budget or goals. So as you can see on the slide, these quotes I put up here are true. These things have actually been told and asked for the marketing staff. Can you please change the light bulb in the loo? Come again. But these ladies, because there are ladies in marketing, were used to have that kind of role, and marketing was maybe half of their time what they spent on. And since they didn't have a budget or they didn't have, a business plan, so when the guy runs off home on the way and says, "Hey, I got this free ad in Horse and Hound. Can you please make an ad to tomorrow at 9 o'clock?" They didn't question it. That they, I know how Horse and Hound is a stupid example, but they never challenged the sales manager and say, "Hey, this is not even your target group. I'm not doing this." So the work that I had to do in the beginning of our journey, and as part of the transformation journey we were on, I was asked to centralize the marketing team. And my mission was to effectivize and modernize the marketing and communication team and brand Symmetry as a solution sales organization rather than the selling box from the shelf. My strategy was to change the roles we had in the team, take away manual processes, and most important, build confidence and competence in the team. As you might understand, that took some time. The people working with marketing were all trained marketeers, but since they haven't had a proper job description over the years previously, it was a battle that I had to take with them to lift them up and lift their spirit and remove the janitor and the secretary and the mother roles from them, which, as you might understand, created a bit of fuss with the salespeople in each country, because suddenly they had to change the light bulb themselves. The plan was that the centralization process to be started with marketing from a company point of view, and then followed by our sales and consultant organization. But that ended up taking a lot longer than it was planned. And as you can imagine, we as a team changed our ways of working while our sales peers were stuck in the old country way of working, and that created a lot of heat and stress for our team. Most days we felt like we were running around in the jungle with a machete, trying to chop our way forward with new systems, new processes, and with our colleagues being confused of what the hell is happening. When that is said, we always knew where we wanted to go, but it was all new for us, new processes, new platforms. So the feeling of that we couldn't have a slow pace through the jungle, we just needed to find the easiest and the fastest way to get to the end goal. I created business unit marketing manager roles, as well as marketing plans, and set the budget to give the marketeers control. We positioned marketing as a business relevant and got marketing into the business unit management teams. So I raised the awareness of having a marketeer on the management team in each business unit. We educated ourselves with regards to inbound marketing, SEO, and AdWords, and focused on value and content creation, as well as account-based marketing. Now you might think, these guys have everything in control. Sorry to disappoint you, we don't. It is a never-ending journey without an ending date. Today, we have 3 web domains. We have the Symmetry web domain in 5 languages, and our technology unit with our own software, Sovelia, Naviate, have their own web domains in English. We have activity in 4 different channels, and we will launch Instagram as a new channel later this year. And we will use that channel for employee branding. And we work with personas, buyer's journey, account-based marketing. We are today located in 5 countries and have 20 marketeers in the team, whereof 10 of them just joined us a year ago in the UK, who worked in a completely different way. If you think this slide looks messy, wait until you see the reality slide. This is how all the tools we use are being connected to each other. And by looking at this slide, you understand that, hey, this is not the marketeer expertise area to get all this work together. So that leads me to my next slide. IT is digital marketing best friend. If you didn't know that by now, I seriously recommend that you start bonding with IT. What do I mean with this? Yeah, Siri, shut up. Sorry for that. What happens? Okay.
No worries, Trude. You can just continue. We see your
Yes.
slides again.
Good.
Great.
What do I mean by that? Marketeers are communicators. We are not technical specialists, and we have little understanding of implementing new platforms and tools from a technical view. We need the buy-in from IT management and for them to step in and up with regards of feeling ownership of the tools we need to deliver business value to the company. World Economic Forum released a survey about leaders' growth paths from clarity to impact. And I would like to highlight the fact that in order to succeed with your ambitions to implement a top-notch modern marketing team and platforms, you need to understand where your company are in the graph and where you as a person are. So if you look at this one, Symmetry was over in the orange-green area, where I am in the blue-purple. So in other words, you need to understand this to deliver your pitch for a change in a way so that the company and stakeholders understands the business value with the changes you propose in their own words. Another thing that is important that you as a leader need to get your head around is what skills are needed now and in the future when you make your growth plan. As you can see, the difference between 2015 and 2020, critical thinking and creativity has moved up the ladder big time. If you look at the 2025 prediction for top skills, problem solving and self-management are in the top. You as a leader need to take this into consideration when you plan the competence you need in your marketing organization going forward. I would like to finish off my presentation today with my best 5 recommendations. 1, it is key that you manage to sell the business added value with the modern marketing communication to your leadership team. Drop the fancy words of account-based marketing, inbound, social media, personas, etc., and explain the real win and benefit for the company. The people in my management teams are all engineers. They are very blue, number fixated. So I needed to shift my strategy when I tried to make them understand why we need to invest heavily in new technical platforms. If possible, make IT part of your team. Make them accountable for the initiatives you need to implement. Don't end up asking for help. IT need to be part of the long-term journey as advisors and take ownership. 3, make sure you have the needed competence in the team for future growth. If you don't have that, you can always outsource it. It's sometimes cheaper to actually buy that service outside than hiring people. And we all know marketing is a big cost center. It's not a low-hanging fruit to hire new people. It's, to get more headcounts. Then you need to spend some money to buy that competence outside. 4, change is difficult for most people. Our team has gone through a lot of changes over the last 5 years. Some people cope with it in a better way, but most people actually find change a struggle. So I think it's important that you acknowledge this fact and guide your staff through that struggle with, in this process. We all work with humans. It is normal and it will pass. You need to show the light in the tunnel and guide them, and they will reach at the same point where you are. Make sure all staff understands the end goal and how you will get there. The how is important, because if you don't manage to present that to your team, they will get stress. Split up the plan up in small steps and celebrate when achieved. That is also important. Make the team feel that you actually are moving forward. Be transparent, but also pay attention to how much information you share. Some information is best to hold to spare your team members. Not everyone needs to know everything in one go. My last advice for you as marketing leaders is ask yourself when you're struggling with a decision, can the consequence of this decision lead to that someone can die or be hurt? No one has made changes without pain. You just need to lean forward and get going. Be courageous, like Pippi Longstocking. This is also a great quote. You have to find the Pippi inside of yourself. And that is actually the last slide I have, and I am ready for questions. I have no clue what I'm doing in time, but I think I almost nailed it.
Yeah, you're doing perfectly fine, Trude. Thank you so much for an awesome presentation. And then, we have a lot of people love your quotes.
Yeah.
Love the quote. I use kind of like the same. What's the worst thing that can happen? Lucky I'm not a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the right business to have this as a quote, right? A lot of people are writing a great presentation, and then I have a question in the Q&A here from Elinor. Impressive work. How do you get management to understand that marketing needs a seat?
It's all about money. You need to get the management to understand. And that was part of my slide when I said you cannot show up on a fancy PowerPoint talking about account-based marketing and all this, because they don't understand that. You need to dig into the companies. I'm very haunted here today. My phone is killing me.
Yeah, you're popular.
Die.
Sure.
Sorry for that. It's important that you figure out that your peers in the management team, if you have a seat there, what makes them trigger. So we have the finance guy. It's all about numbers. You have the sales managers. It's also about numbers, but plus minus. The finance are more keeping costs down. So if you can pitch it that actually by implementing this platform from a customer-centric point of view, the customers will feel that whatever information they get from us is accurate and on time. At the same time that we save hiring more staff, because the staff we have can focus on doing proper content creation instead of doing a lot of manual work. So you need to sit down and take a look at the management team. What kind of personalities and what makes them tick? And then you put your presentation together. So you've hit each one of them on their, pain points. And I think that is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, that's an awesome answer. Thank you for that, Trude. And then we have another question from Åsa. What has been the biggest struggle for you?
IT. IT. I have to say, we also changed IT director in the middle of everything. The situation is that IT are putting out fires, and there are always more important fires to put out than marketing. And it says symmetry on my chest, so I always think what's best for symmetry. But looking back now, I think I could have been more up in their face and demand that now it's time for you to focus on this. It's always a thin line, because you don't want to come across as just with one eye, which is marketing. You have to think, the consequence for the whole company. That is why you probably have a seat in the management team. But I think it's really important that you get the CEO's understanding why IT should be your best friend. You should hook arms with them, and then make sure that IT actually have somewhere in their job description that your responsibility is to work with marketing to make sure that we have top-notch platforms to work with. By the end, to save money by not having too many staff.
Totally agree, Trude, and I think there's a lot of other companies out there that struggles with the same challenges. And we have more questions. Wow, you're popular. How do you get an old-fashioned sales force to adapt to a more modern way of working?
Well, if you knew that, I would pay you millions. You know what? Again, it's the same thing. We have plenty of the guys, and actually, I'm ashamed to say that I look at them as old, but actually, I'm older than most of them. But they kind of lost the kid inside of them, the curiosity. I think what you need to do is to kind of find the pitch, the storytelling to that older sales guy to make him, I have also been in sales, but we sometimes, when we want to be naughty, we say, well, people in sales are lazy. They need to be spoon-fed. If you can pitch it so it comes through that actually we will help him selling his stuff by this new modern way of working, so he doesn't have to do all the job himself. So I think you need to go around and find the pain point. What is annoying for the sales guy, and then pitch it that way. Yeah.
Great. And then we have a similar question about challenges, but Nicoleta asked, what's the biggest challenges you face in your marketing team in terms of people management, and how do you deal with that?
I'm very fortunate. When I took this job in 2015, I think we were 9 people in the marketing team, and all are ladies. Your biggest fear is that it might end up like a chicken farm. We didn't. We had a very tight team working really close together, helping each other. So that was a big win. With regards to people management, I think I had like 12 direct reports for a long time. That is a bit too much, but I felt that I needed to work with them to raise their proudness of being proud of being a marketeer. But when we got to that point, and they were, feeling good about themselves, being clever people, I then organized so I had 2 people that took the people management skills job. But I think it's always about finding the good things that they do and finding what do they burn for. So in my organization, I did interviews with them in the beginning and to find what was their burning factor, and I offered them positions where they could grow into new areas. And some of them I needed to push into the sea. I knew they could do it, but again, it's a female thing. I don't know what sickness this is. It's like, well, I shouldn't do this, or maybe I can't. We're men. We should look at the men around us. They, when they apply for a job, they say yes to all the questions. Can you do this? Can you do this? Yes, yes. And then they think, I'll learn this. I learned that during the weekend. Where we girls, we don't say we can't do anything unless we know for sure we can do it 100%. And we can learn from the men there. Lean forward, be pippy, jump out. Everyone can learn anything. Google it.
Yeah, that's awesome, Trude. There are a lot of aha experience for me during your presentation. And yeah, you have people writing, thank you so much, amazing presentation, love it, great advice, get it, thank you so much. I think, we can answer one final question here. And that is, how do you make busy engineers to commit to deadlines they have for content creation, please?
Yes. So what you do is you make a deal with their manager and you say, I need 4 hours a week or 10 hours a month of this person to write blog posts. And then the manager tells the guy, and then you block it in the calendar. Done.
Awesome.
That's
well,
so
yeah.
awesome, Trude. Yes.
Thank you so much, Trude. It's we learned so much today.
Yes,
Good.
Thank you, Trude. That was an awesome presentation you had. So thank you so much for that. And we know you're killing it over Symmetry there, and it's going really well for you. So you're onto something, that's for sure. So thank you so much.
It just goes too slow. So that's my last final word. Be patient. I was not on the ladder at all when God gave out patience. So it's been a long 5 years journey for me.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Trude.
So good
Cheers,
to have
have
you.
a good day.
Bye.
Bye. And next speaker, Jacob.
Yeah.
You want to take it away with the introduction to Kayla? Awesome.
We have the opportunity and pleasure to have Kayla Loeffler as our next speaker. And this ties really good into the closing sessions from Trude. But first I can say that Kayla is the VP of Marketing at Accidian and running the global marketing and strategic marketing globally for Accidian. I have been working with different tech companies before that. But since your favorite quote is, say yes and you'll figure it out afterwards, that ties very good into the closing comments from Trude. So with that short introduction, we're so glad to have you here with us today, Kayla, and we're looking forward to see what you will share for us regarding closed loop marketing.
Great. Thank you very much, Jacob, and very happy to be here. And I have to say, I'm very excited to be talking about marketing today rather than technology, which I usually do. So this will be a fun change for me, and really looking forward to it. As Jacob said, my motto is say yes and you'll figure it out later. And it's great advice for marketers and maybe for your career. If you're in sales, maybe don't use this because you won't make a lot of friends with product line management and R&D oftentimes. They like you to sell what's on the truck usually. But at Accidian, I'm in charge of marketing, and I have a bit of a split brain because we work across the telecommunications and enterprise segments, so with customers in 53 different countries. And we're doing network and application performance monitoring and cybersecurity threat detection. And I know that's one good aspect of a good marketer is to be detail-oriented and keep things in their lanes and ensure that you are always improving on what you're doing. And so here I am today talking about staying resilient and how closed-loop marketing can help you do so and achieve your goals. And let me just check and change the slide here. So I imagine that your 2020 looked something like-minded. As I mentioned, we work across a number of different market segments, so we have quite a split focus in my team. But let's take one part of our business to talk about today specifically. You know, we went into 2020 with what we thought was a very solid plan, and then of course February, March hit, and you know everything kind of changed then. Things that worked 1 month great wouldn't work the next. You know, the ROI on that activity or the lead gen just fell off the map. Things that may have been successful in one of those countries that I mentioned may not work the next month. So there was constant adjustments to our strategy. You know, that 2020 plan just went completely out the window. You know, there was hiring freezes, budget cuts. I'm sure you've dealt with all of this as well. And it was a real challenge to keep up. You probably also experienced, you know, the hype cycle of webinars, and then everyone got digital fatigue and no one was signing up for everything. Our nice vendors and suppliers we work with decided to shoot up costs here and there. So then we would have to adjust that way as well. And then, of course, our sales team was also dealing with, you know, budget cuts and budget lockdown and things like that in different countries at different times of the year too. But I mean, despite all this, despite the roller coaster that was 2020, and unfortunately is continuing to 2021, we did make our lead gen goals. And I'm very proud to say that we also were under our budget. I always say that, you know, instead of just calling it the lead gen goals, because we always want to talk to sales and, you know, we're delivering to sales ultimately. I always say that we got them the at-bats that they needed. And that's, of course, our main goal, helping them drive revenue and getting the best ROI on our activities. Just like Trude said as well, that's how we justify our existence and our growth and our importance to the organization and maintain that solid seat at the management table. So how do we do this? Well, we emulated the British cycling team, and that may seem like a very odd answer to the question, and I'll get to the real answer shortly, but I wanted to, like all marketers do, tell a bit of a story around it as well. And this metaphor is actually part of the way that we got our sales team on board as well. It helped us to open up the lines of communication with them, which was critical to the strategy, our strategy, which is to instill this closed loop marketing approach in our organizations that can be more agile and rapidly responding to changes in the market. This was how we ultimately integrated ourselves much more closely to the PLM teams, the sales teams, et cetera, which was our ultimate goal. You know, closed loop marketing as well, which I'll get into in a minute, is a lot around the data. But with the way things were changing and how quickly they were changing last year and still are, you can't always rely on the quantity of data, the quantitative data. You need that qualitative feedback and that spoken response and that open lines of communication with your sales team to really understand what's happening down there with the feet on the street. You know, they're the first line of defense, or the first line of offense, rather, you could say. So what do I mean by be the British cycling team? Well, the British cycling team has a lovely story here. In between the years of 1926 and 2002, a 76-year period, they won 1 gold medal. And then in the 10 years following that, 2002 to 2012, they won 14 gold medals. This is a significant improvement. And how did they do that? They focused on 1% improvements. I know we always want to be goal-oriented, of course, in marketing, and it's great to have a goal of making, you know, larger leaps and bounds. But 1% improvements and that kind of continuous improvement cycle and that Kaizen approach, oftentimes in times of rapid change, is easier to maintain and kind of maintain that consistent growth trend. So that's why we kind of resonated with this story as a way to introduce the concept of closed loop marketing to our own sales team and our own organization. So what exactly did the British cycling team do to achieve this significant improvement in their results? And surprisingly, these things aren't so related to their training schedule or physical performance, but they did things like painting the floor of their team truck white to spot dust. They hired a doctor to teach them about proper hand washing techniques, which, sad but true, but here we are in Corona. You know, every time you visit the restroom, you see a song you can sing to make sure you wash your hands the adequate amount of time and in the right way. But ultimately, of course, it's related to decreasing illness and time off from training. They even did things like bringing their own mattresses and pillows to events to, of course, get a more a restful night of sleep before they had to perform, and then they rubbed alcohol on their bike tires for better grip. So a lovely story, and of course, again, a great storytelling method or metaphor that you can share about the power of 1% improvements in that continuous improvement cycle, which of course is very near and dear to marketers' hearts, because we want to measure everything and do those improvements. So what exactly is closed loop marketing? You can probably, if you don't already know what it is, you can probably quite easily figure it out from the name, actually. It's very intuitive. Oddly enough, we presented that same story exactly in January of last year, in 2020. So just before, well, I mean, Corona was happening in some parts of the world, but didn't really hit us yet here in Sweden or the US. That happened more around like March timeframe. And I'm not saying, you know, we coined this or anything like that at all, but we were just looking for a way to get closer to our sales teams, our PLM team, our strategy teams, because we knew as a small team that's trying to be, you know, relevant across a number of different verticals and many different markets, that we needed to keep that close relationship with, as I said, the feet on the street, you know, that first line of offense, because they have the great relationship and they're hearing in detail how the challenges of our buyers are changing on a day-to-day basis. And closed loop marketing, I mean, this is HubSpot's definition. It's using the data and insights from closed loop reporting. You know, we love our A/B tests and all of our metrics that we use on a day-to-day basis with our A/B tests to understand what's performing better. But it's also using sales teams to understand how the leads that we're sending them are received, how they're ending up. And it's really about that, the qualitative information and not just the quantitative. So as I said, you know, we used this terminology before we really knew it was this terminology, but again, trying to find a message that resonates with the sales team and put things in a way they can understand, kind of like Trude said. We chose closed loop marketing because this is something we talk about every day with our sales teams anyways, not just our sales teams, but our buyers and our prospects. You know, we're in the software hardware business. So closed loop feedback theory, closed loop automation, you know, go on our website at Exedian.com and we're writing about closed loop automation all the time. So this is something that they already intuitively understood what it meant when we presented it to them. And realistically, you can kind of take this approach, this theory, and instill it in your own organization with any story or any kind of terminology you wanted, as long as it resonates with sales. And it helps you to kind of start building that relationship and building those open lines of communication, then you're golden. And yes, moving on. So again, it all comes down to data, but not just the quantity of data that you need. I mean, sometimes it takes time to wait for 200 hits on a landing page to understand that Rev A is better than Rev B, and you should go with that. But with the speed at which things were changing in the market, it was really, really critical that we had that more rapid response, that more rapid feedback from our sales team about how things were falling out for them. Was the meetings you had at this event productive? What lines of questioning were you using that were most effective? Can we use those in a different market and share this information with that team to make that team perform better as well? Do we go back to this event because it's happening again in 2 months? You know, some very interesting things happened with some of the activities we did last year, such as events. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of experience with virtual events just like this. And we quickly found for our types of buyers that on these events, we weren't getting the type of chat and interaction like is happening on this event here today, which is great, by the way. In some markets we were. All we would get was people reaching out with what's the coupon code so I can enter to win the drawing for this prize, for instance. There's many kinds of data that you can use, of course, for closed loop marketing, and there's many that you use today, I'm sure. And we also used a lot of surveys too with our teams when we couldn't get them on the phone and we needed a higher quantity of data from our own internal teams. I think we did some external surveys, but the internal surveys were much more powerful. And what kind of data can you actually use to kind of understand that where you're really driving value and how quickly that little sliver of the value wedge is changing. Web data, of course, but things like blogging topics even. I mean, we could write a series of blogs and then understand, was this resonating with your customers? Who's using these blogs? Because we had a better feedback method as well in terms of our employee advocacy tools like Octopus and things like that for social advocacy. So we could understand what they were more likely to share and what was getting better pickup as well. At events, I mentioned already, some virtual events where unfortunately the interaction was not as powerful as we would like. And the webinar ebb and flow of how people signed up. But it also extends to things like keyword research. You know, there's some areas of our business where we were partnering with a number of different organizations. It was all around the multi-access edge compute, or the MEC. And the rapid pace at which we were developing different proofs of concepts with these partners was very difficult to keep up with. Yet this was kind of a key growth area for us. So without that continuous feedback loop with both BD, PLM, and the sales team members that were involved in these proofs of concept, there was no way that we would have been able to write knowledgeably and stay relevant around what we were doing. So it all comes down again to the qualitative feedback, and you can't just rely on the ones and twos and the data we're pulling from our websites and our blogs and our social and all of that, all of those great systems that we rely on every day. So I talked about selling it to your sales team in terms of using storytelling and also terminology that resonates with them. And just like Trude said, you can't take a presentation talking about ABM perhaps, but maybe refocusing in a way that comes down to the dollars or cents, or puts it in terminology that your management team or the sales team in this case will understand, will really help you to kind of get the pickup that you need from the team and get those relationships started. So why inbound? I mean, I don't need to tell you guys this, but sales didn't really understand the importance of inbound, for instance. So this was one aspect we wanted to get more feedback to help us drive our messaging strategy and our nurture strategy, as well as the blogging topics, which are, of course, the kind of the entryway into our inbound strategy. So we made it all about the money. You know, that's at the end of the day what sales teams are there for. That's how they survive. So putting it again in terms that they understood helped us to essentially jumpstart the relationships and get really involved in their day-to-day, so that we could further our own goals, ultimately driving more revenue for them. And again, sales super important in terms of understanding the buyer persona, their challenges, how to relate to them, how to write for them, how to speak to them, and ultimately how to keep up with the changes that they are experiencing in terms of their buying cycles, their loss of budget, and all those good things that we experienced in 2020. Finally, building trust with your sales team. Again, it kind of comes down to trust and opening those lines of communication. One thing we did was started investing a lot more time with the teams. So we, of course, have field team members, but we made sure that at least one of us was always on their weekly team calls, just to understand, what was going on in the region, get feedback. Maybe we didn't have any marketing updates to provide, but we just listened in, asked questions, and then we were able to dig in more with one-on-one with any of the team member that had perhaps an interesting story to tell, or some insight that could help us to improve on our activities for the next go forward, for instance. And like Trudy also said, transparency is important. You don't need to share everything, but sharing your progress, maybe hopefully always good, sometimes the bad as well, that transparency and the frequent feedback is always appreciated also. It's not all about the take, but we got to give a little too. And if you're just lucky enough, your sales team will also introduce you to some of their customers, and having that kind of direct line to your ideal buyer and maybe your champion at one of your customers is gold, truly gold for inbound. So with that, I'll leave you with just a couple little pieces of advice, and go ahead and take them or leave them. Keep measuring from the data side, of course. That's our lifeblood in marketing. We love our A/B tests, and we love to measure everything as detailed as we can. But start building your relationships with sales as well. And if you want to try something like closed loop marketing, you don't have to call it closed loop marketing, but finding that storytelling angle and relating it to a way that would resonate with your sales team is a great way to kind of kickstart that new friendship. Like Trude said, make IT your best friend. Now you've also got to make sales your best friend too. Good thing most marketers I know are very outgoing and love making friends and meeting new people. So it's a good fit.
Awesome, Kayla. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was great. I think we all learned a lot. So now we have a couple of minutes for questions. So please just type your questions either directly in the chat or in the Q&A, and I will try to manage. So our first question is so interesting, Kayla. What tools do you use to measure success?
I guess probably a lot of the similar tools that are used by a lot of the marketers on this presentation or this event as well. Google Analytics, HubSpot backend, social, Octopus, kind of all the analytics that are built into all of our tools. But my director of inbound actually has this huge project right now where he's trying to further integrate all the tools into consolidated dashboards so we can get it more at a glance, and also input that qualitative aspect as well. So that we can, week to week, actually see where we are on our team calls, and we can decide, okay, what are our actions for the next week? Because we kind of break down those lead goals into all our different channels, and then also try to set as tight of goals as possible. Because of course, we're trying to measure everything, and it's all about those 1% improvements.
Exactly. And when you have that dashboard ready, then you can come back for a new presentation on that one. And then we have a question from Patrick, who also says it's an awesome presentation. What are the 3 most important KPIs you measure?
Yes, well, I would actually say there's one that's most important for us. We are a pretty high-touch business. Long sales cycles, large deals, and we're not for everyone, of course. So we have a very targeted persona that we go after. So my key KPI is sales accepted leads. So, once it becomes a marketing qualified lead, we work with sales, hand it over, and then of course close the loop and figure out where it went. So sales accepted leads is probably the number 1. And I would actually probably have difficulty mentioning number 2 and number 3 because I'm so focused on number 1, actually. I guess you could just move up the funnel from there and pick some more numbers. But sales accepted leads, I guess it's very different for everyone's business. But in our business, I always say I have my boss, who's actually the chief marketing, chief strategy officer, but I very much dotted line into the head of sales for our enterprise business. He's my number 1 internal stakeholder. I kind of exist to make him happy these days. And it's all about those sales.
That's awesome. What a great answer. And then we have a question from Frederick. Have you noticed a change of attitude from sales? And how about the management?
Definitely. I am actually, I'm so thrilled because I'm just yesterday and quite frequently we get a lot of feedback from sales. They come up with ideas, oh, I saw one of our partners was doing this. Could we do something like that? One of our newer sales guys said, I've never actually seen this level of interaction from a marketing team, and I've been in the industry for 25 plus years. Wow. So like that definitely feels really good. We've definitely seen the success with this this level of interaction with sales, and they've also felt it as well. And from management, the change of attitude from management, I would also say that our management team, like in terms of sales leaders across the world, so like I've got 5-6 sales leaders that I need to make happy as well, I guess, as well as Sergio, but they also believe that this is a really powerful approach because we're all just trying to keep our heads above water with Corona, aren't we? We're trying to kind of stay ahead of the game, stay on top of how budgets and sales cycles are changing. And this approach, they're always willing and open to share and provide feedback, positive or negative, but we'll take it all as it comes because I feel like it's at the end of the day, it is critical to our success as a marketing organization.
Exactly. Awesome. And I think we have time for one final question. And that is, where do you see the biggest skills gap in marketing today? And how should you overcome that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I actually, and from personal experience, I think that the biggest skills gap is kind of in the solutions marketing area. And the reason I say that is because, again, the market's changing so quickly. And it kind of relates to what I said earlier in the presentation about this new area, multi-axis edge computer, or MEC, where it's new, it's a burgeoning technology area, and having marketers that are skilled in using the proper terminology and being able to write to the buyer persona is super complex. I mean, these are super intelligent. I mean, there's so many highly intelligent, well-qualified marketers, but finding the marketers that have kind of key niche technological knowledge is very difficult. That's also a very good opportunity, I would say. And one that I always talk about with my friends or whoever is maybe interested in getting into marketing in the technology area is that you have such a great opportunity to make yourself indispensable, because there's always these new areas of technology where you can really kind of dig in and kind of create your own path and become just such an asset to your organization because you have this very specialized expertise in an area. So, I mean, what is a challenge is also a huge opportunity. Shall you choose to accept it?
That's awesome, Kayla. You're so smart and brilliant, and thank you so much for your presentation and your and the answer to all the questions. It's been great having you here.
Thank you
so much, Kayla. That was awesome. Yeah, we learned a lot.
Yeah, we definitely did. And you have a great day, and we speak soon again.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay, good luck.
Bye. Cool. Let's see here. Let's get back to our presentation. And we have another amazing woman coming up here. Let's see, Jacob, if you can, let's introduce her.
Let's see. Do you hear me, Cecilia?
I hear you, Jacob.
Yeah, perfect. So, great. We are now going into a really interesting ABM session with no less than Alessandra Posmai, who is very passionate about this area. So it's so good to have you with us, Alessandra. You're running the ABM marketing program for Shutterstock globally and have done a lot of things in this area over the last 3 years. And you're going to talk to us about the hard truth about ABM. And we're so looking forward to hear all your thoughts in this area. So with that said, welcome so much, Alessandra. We're looking forward to hear you talk about this topic.
Yeah, I see that she hasn't. Alessandra, you have to connect to the sound and the camera, because we can't either see or hear you, unfortunately.
Hi, Alessandra. Hi, so good to meet you, and welcome to today's B2B Tech Marketing Day.
Yeah. Very excited to be here. Very excited to be here.
And we
Sophia,
are.
Yeah,
I
whenever
share
you
my
feel
screen?
ready, Alessandra, you can just take it away and share the screen because you have, you have some cool animations. So you can just click screen share whenever you feel ready, and then yeah, we can start.
Sounds good. Are we good? Can people see my screen?
It's loading, but yeah, it looks perfect on my end.
Awesome. Let's get started. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alessandra Posmai, and I'm the Global ABM Manager at Shutterstock. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak to you today about my journey for uncovering the hard truths of ABM. Regardless of whether you are a seasoned ABMer or just starting out, this session applies to all those willing to lean into a whole new way of thinking about ABM strategy. I love running, so I'm going to use a running analogy, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. ABM is tough. It's working all these different muscles and orchestration to produce results. Like training for a marathon, it takes time and a lot of effort to strengthen the right muscles in order to get those winning results. It's passion and perseverance that drives you to that finish line. My goal for this session is that you walk away with a new understanding of ABM strategy and how it can immediately be applied into your day-to-day, regardless of what stage you are at in your ABM journey. I'll be going through the foundations of ABM and then dive deep into the different channels that can benefit from adopting ABM, namely email and beyond email. And lastly, I'll be touching on how to deliver ABM impact to showcase its true value to your organization. Along the way, we'll find out where ABM truth hurts the most and how we overcome that bump in the road. ABM as a concept is quite simple. It's all about getting the right message in front of the right audience at the right time. It's the orchestration of all tactics coming together to build that awareness of your target buyer. In laying your ABM foundation, first, it's important that marketing and sales are on the same page. This will be the most powerful equation in your ABM strategy. The idea is that both marketing and sales have access to unique insights into what accounts will help a business grow. True success is establishing a workflow where high-value accounts, ideally those on sales' radar, are given air coverage by marketing, and both teams are driving towards the same business outcomes. And now for our first moment of truth. There's no point in doing ABM without buy-in from your sales team. What happens when there's no alignment is marketing spends money, sales won't attend the meetings, and no business outcomes are being driven forward. This has happened to us in the past, and we've since moved to a world where we work alongside sales to create a prioritized list of accounts for marketing support. Once you've established some form of alignment with sales, it's important to agree on the blueprint of a target account in order to build your list of who you want to target. There are various indicators that can point you in the right direction. There are those that exist at a firmographic level, an environmental level, as well as on a behavioral level. And I'll drill down on some of my favorites, such as whether a master sales agreement exists, fiscal year end, competitor deals, or trends in the industry like ad spend. We're constantly iterating our indicators based on business we close along the way. Once you have these indicators established for sales, you need to figure out how to source them. Many of these data sources are actually free or very affordable, including your Salesforce instance, annual reports, industry trend reports, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and conversations with prospects. Conversations with prospects is an example of the need to apply grit. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's easy. This is anecdotal information obtained through sitting in sales calls or going through sales activity reports. This is where I've been the most successful in learning key insights about accounts. Once you have an established program with proven ROI, it makes sense to invest in subscription services for data like ZoomInfo and eMarketer, as well as data modeling or intent software like Demandbase. I advise using the more cost-effective sources initially, as they can take you a very long way. Here's an example of one of my favorite free data sources, annual reports. This is an older excerpt from Mattel's annual report where they talk about increased investment in their Hot Wheels brand, as well as launching a new partnership with Nintendo. You best believe that information is passed along to sales and woven throughout our messaging. Once you've figured out your target account list, the idea is to focus your resources where it makes sense. You want to invest more dollars on the accounts you forecast to get most return out of, and provide them with a highly targeted buyer journey. This will become your top tier one-to-one ABM accounts. As you move down the pyramid, the level of investment and personalization decreases. This allows you to target more accounts within the lower tiers. The number of accounts that fall into these tiers is unique to every program, and the placement does not have to be fixed. At the peak of our program, we had thousands of accounts built into this model. But once COVID hit, we reeled back our strategy to only focus on a smaller subset of sales selected accounts within the one-to-one tier. With all this said and done, there is no point in investing time or resources into ABM before adopting the right mindset. The traditional marketing way of seeing and doing needs to be transformed into a scrappier way of thinking. It's the difference between getting your hands clean and getting your hands dirty in the grit of day-to-day ABM. It's going from working with high volumes and casting a wide net to working with lower volume and being more selective with who your audience is. It's going from setting and forgetting automation to working alongside humans to communicate with your target buyer. It's moving away from thinking of your audience as a bunch of segments to personalizing your messaging on more of an account level. It's not only using one channel of engagement, but using multiple to tailor the entire buyer journey. In transforming your mindset, you're able to apply ABM best practices to all the same channels we know and love. The email channel is arguably the strongest marketing muscle for generating high impact results in ABM. The way I see email is a channel divided by two senders, the machine and the human. Both can be applied to email strategy, but I've seen most success on the human side when trying to engage prospects, with an average 7% reply rate versus an average reply rate of 2%. As great as automation is for reaching a higher volume of prospects, in order to do ABM, you need humans. You need SDRs. In all truthfulness, ABM will fail without sales development reps. The reality is the level of investment per account in an ABM program will never equate to as many hand raisers that an inbound budget can generate. For that reason, we need help. But what is an SDR? An SDR is a sales rep whose every day is dedicated to pushing out activity that is meant to generate engagement with prospects on all different channels. This means sending out around 200 emails a day, doing 10 to 3 dials a day, and performing 30 to 50 social touches. ABM doesn't just happen with marketers and technology without SDRs being a part of the actual execution. Not a day goes by that I don't interact with SDRs, and some of this interaction comes in the forms of bi-weekly scrums with the SDR team, as well as bi-weekly one-on-ones with each SDR where we do status checks on the business outcomes we're driving forward for certain accounts. Where our program really took off was when we began assigning SDRs to the accounts we were running ABM campaigns against. We began assigning SDRs in May of 2018 as a pilot. They were assigned tier 1 accounts and had the mission of knowing these accounts like the back of their hands. As we began realizing success and getting buy-in from the team, we doubled our SDR partnership in September, and by December, every SDR had at least one ABM account they were engaging with. By May of 2019, we moved to a state where the entire outbound team was dedicated only to reaching accounts touched by ABM. Fast forward to today, we've hired immensely in regions outside of North America with the goal of creating an SDR team that can truly service the globe. This allows us to truly localize our communications within accounts that have buying centers all over the world. If you were to break down the steps to creating a top-performing SDR account-specific cadence, you would first begin with selecting 20 leads from a specific account you want to engage with. We use GDPR-compliant services like LeadIQ and ZoomInfo in order to gather this data. You then place them into a 12-step cadence of around 6 email touches, 3 phone dials, 3 social touches. We leverage SalesLoft to do this. Next step is ensuring that the email copy is personalized to include information and verbiage specific and relevant to the company. Here we use a simple search engine as well as the SDR brains in order to get this achieved. The next step is including customized attachments such as account-specific sheets, links to videos, maybe virtual e-gift, gift card sends, and we leverage PathFactory as well as Sendoso for these customized CTAs. And lastly, it's really this idea of continuous iteration with gained insights to further personalize messaging. We tend to see around 5x the reply rate for cadences that include this level of personalization and workflow, as opposed to more traditional persona or vertical-based cadences. Although email is the most important marketing muscle within any ABM strategy, ABM works best when all marketing channels are working towards the same goal. If you remember, ABM is about getting the right message in front of the right audience at the right time. A successful strategy occurs when this message is consistent across the entire buyer journey. It's the orchestration of all tactics coming together to build lasting awareness for your target buyer. Here's an in-depth look at a point in time of one of our campaigns towards Danone. You can see that the copy and the visuals are both relevant to the company, which triggers higher ad recall. At the time, these ads were served on Triblio's display ad network, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn paid social. The goal here is to build brand awareness across various channels. If a Danone marketer were to engage with one of our ads, they would be directed to a landing page made specifically for the account. Here, the goal is education with links embedded throughout the page to encourage the marketer to explore our offerings. If a Danone marketer were to engage with an element of the landing page, they would be routed to our personalized website experience. Consistent to theme, the buyer journey has messaging and visuals using Triblio's web personalization product. The homepage, pop-up, and GIF chat are all customized to speak to the Danone marketer. After a period of exposure to ads, an SDR is to begin prospecting the account, and they're equipped with the appropriate collateral to further educate and convert their prospects. Here are some examples of customized one-pagers we've done in the past for Unilever, as well as product samples that we actually took it upon ourselves to shoot custom images for some of their brands, Magnum and X, and the purpose is for sales to use these within their meetings and their conversations. Lastly, the final touch point of our top of funnel journey is direct mail. Direct mail has been the grittiest, toughest touch point for us to execute. I love sharing these images because it doesn't get more ABM than this. Picture a direct mail shipping party, or you can view the top left image with a room full of SDRs handwriting personal notes to prospects. We had to prove the value of direct mail the old-fashioned way before making any investments. And here's what our direct mail strategy looks like today. The idea is to empower SDRs using a sending platform to not only ship out more volume, but to be more strategic of what they send, dependent on where the prospect is along the buyer journey. The further along we go the buyer journey, the higher the investment we're willing to make in order to drive business outcomes. And granted the time and investment that comes with this high level of personalization, not all account journeys are equal. The hidden caveat of personalization at scale. We see the highest return for our top tier accounts, and as a result, these prospects will go for a buyer journey very similar to what I just walked you through. The following tiers have fewer marketing touch points and go for a less personal experience, perhaps ads that speak to a vertical pain point as opposed to an account-specific pain point. So these are some examples of one-to-one engagement we received from prospects that were both touched by our paid ads and SDR outreach. So in this example, the CMO of a Fortune 500 company replied to an SDR email saying the only reason in doing so is because of the personalized ads he saw on Facebook. And here's an example of somebody replying to a direct mail item that was sent. This person is in more of a traditional industry. Her secretary ended up replying, and it just shows that somebody who wouldn't convert on an email channel needed that extra in-person touch to convert. I'm also a firm believer that any publicity is good publicity. Here's an example that some may view as a failure. A prospect who is quite the LinkedIn influencer was turned off by our personalized ads on Facebook. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that all the comments were on our side, actually advocating for the use of Facebook for ABM. I had the pleasure of actually bumping into this LinkedIn influencer at a conference after this post was written. Needless to say, he continued to be quite firm in his stance, but I did get a chance to thank him for sharing our ad to all the people in his network. And this leads us to our next moment of truth. ABM is the #1 approach to cut through the noise and stand out to your prospects. If you don't create some form of buzz with your message, you should think twice about the level of impact you're having with your approach. It's one thing to generate buzz and engagement, But what will ultimately determine the success of your ABM program is involving the right people internally and communicating the right kind of impact. The ultimate key to driving impact with ABM is enabling your sales team to activate this demand. For some of our top target accounts, I meet weekly with the SDRs and AEs to talk progress, the prioritization of activities, and action items for the next week. It's at these stand-ups where some of our most creative ideas come to life. Our next moment of truth comes for how we measure what we activate. It was a realization a few months into our ABM program that we needed to change the way that we were reporting ABM. Gone are the days of judging a program based off of opens, click-throughs, form fills. Although nice to know and have, ABM is not dependent on the three to survive. MQLs were no longer sufficient in showing the true value in ABM, and that's simply because we knew the leads we were targeting were qualified, they were the right people at the right account. This leads us to engagement becoming the new metric. When the right account engages with SDR outreach, online channels such as website or ads, or direct mail, that account is considered engaged. We use Engagio to track engagement in the form of points at the lead level that aggregates them up to the account level. So a new way to look at our leads called for a new way to evaluate their journey. The success of our program ultimately boiled down to the number of accounts in our program, the number of engagement we're able to drive towards them, the number of meetings we're able to book on the SDR side, the number of opportunities and sales accepted opportunities that came from that. And last but not least, most importantly, is revenue. Despite COVID, last year was our program's best revenue year yet. And ultimately, that's how you bring the best kind of attention to your program internally to help secure further investment and grow your program even further. So at the end of the day, ABM is a marathon, not a race. Although some of these truths may hurt at the time, be patient with your program because you're not going to see results overnight, but also be ready to invest the appropriate time and effort to get you across that finish line. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alessandra, for your presentation on the hard truth of ABM. So now we have a couple of minutes for questions before our next speaker, Sangram Vajre, is joining. So any questions for Alessandra, please type them directly in the chat or in the Q&A section.
Yeah, and I think we have one from Brandon here. Wouldn't the need of SDRs depend on your average ABM deal size? What is the minimum deal size you would recommend to support this framework?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, our deal sizes range quite heavily depending on the level and suite of products that we're able to sell to an account like Danone. So I would definitely say take a look at what the average AOV is for some of past opportunities for accounts that you're considering to include within your program, and use that as your baseline for what investment you want to be putting into the program. So, it just depends on the return that you want to get out of it. And so that will ultimately dictate the level of investment on one end and the AOV that we're expected to get from the other.
Awesome. And then we have a question about this presentation, and it will be recorded and sent out afterwards. So no worries if you missed a couple of minutes here. And then we have a question from Sophia. Do you have any key ABM trends you think that B2B marketeers have to track in 2021?
Yeah, so I would say revenue is king. So at the end of the day, if your program isn't producing results in the form of revenue, then you might not be here in 2022. So that's probably one of the most important things, as well as just making sure that your sales alignment is as tight as ever. And especially with the evolution that I'm seeing with ABM now, as it's bleeding more into the customer success side of things, into really nurturing customers that are there. So I would definitely say that keeping your customer success team members in the loop as well is just as important as your sellers.
Amazing. And then we have a great question from our speaker, Sangram. Phenomenal presentation. ABM is hard and needs discipline. Why does companies fail at ABM, you think, Alessandra?
I think they just go too hard too fast. It's really this element of feeling as if they need to have impact within the first month. And so what that means is processes are rushed. Maybe true alignment isn't achieved with sales. Marketing is doing ABM within its own little silo. And then the organization just doesn't care. Like I said, sales just won't attend the meetings that we create for them. And it'll just be added noise to driving the business outcomes they really want to. So the goal is to really make sure that ABM is brought into the fold and totally aligned with the similar objectives that the sellers have.
Great answer. Thank you so much for that, Alessandra. And then we have a question about how do you allocate marketing budget, ABM versus other initiatives? Is it growing?
Yes. So our ABM program in year one constituted a very, very, very small percentage of our overall enterprise demand marketing budget. And as we continue to prove ROI year over year, that percentage slowly started to increase to the point where this year, majority of our investment is within ABM as it's proven to be the more efficient marketing channel. And whatever comes in inbound at the moment is really just tied to like website, all those kind of organic leads that don't really cost a lot of money to get. So
exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great answers. And a lot of people are writing awesome presentation, really interesting. Thank you very much for an incredible presentation and great questions answered. So awesome, Alessandra. We are so happy to been able to have you here. And good luck with your ABM work at Shutterstock. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Awesome presentation, Alessandra. And good luck. And thank you so much for your time.
Have a good day.
Thank you all. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now, Jacob, now we're very excited to introduce our next speaker here today. I'm just going to get the switch presentation here.
Yeah, on to our next speaker. And we are so happy to have Sangram Vajre with us here today. And very short intro to you, Sangram, is that you are the co-founder of Terminus, which probably most of our audience have heard about, an ABM visionary. And not only that, you have also been around in a few other companies, of course, in different CMO roles. So we will talk about that. And that ties very good into, since you're putting out a lot of interesting content in this area with your, not to forget your very popular podcast, Flip My Funnel. And you missed that, but that was one of our quiz questions at the beginning of this session here today, Sangram. So with that short introduction, we're so happy to have you with us here today, and we'll pay attention to your speech about how to become a CMO.
That's awesome, man. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we hear you fine, Sangram.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right. I am going to put a timer here because we got 15 minutes. I want to make sure I stick to the guns over here. All right. Well, first of all, that was a great presentation. I learned a lot just listening to it. And I'm glad Alessandra was talking about the challenges and the hard truths about ABM. So hopefully people will follow her. And it's really awesome to see companies do incredible stuff of all sizes. And the challenges are real. For me, I think it's over the last almost 3 years or so, as I've been a CMO at Pardot, a CMO at obviously Terminus as a co-founder, and just doing multiple businesses, I continue to mentor people on how to become a CMO. And what's interesting about all this is that very few people understand this very fact that I'm about to share with you. Less than 1% of the marketers will even have a shot at becoming a CMO. Let me say that again. Less than 1% of you who are listening to this right now will even have a shot. I'm not trying to say you may or may. I'm saying even have a shot to actually becoming a CMO. So I want you to just lean into this conversation a little bit, because if you ever dream to become a CMO, this is the part that's going to help you probably challenge you, maybe even make you uncomfortable a little bit, but that's okay, because at the end of the presentation, here's my goal. Either you would say, oh, I want to be a CMO because I know what are the most important things a CMO needs, which is what I'll be sharing. Or you will say, you know what? Heck no, I don't want to be a CMO. I don't want to do all that crap. I love what I do. And that's okay too. So either way, I want you to have a mental decision. And as a challenge to you is that hit me up on LinkedIn later on after this presentation. Tell me which direction you chose, because it's important to know where you're going. If you are in dark, you're going to be like, I wish I could do this, that, and the other. Or today you have a chance to really sit up, really get into it, get your coffee, whatever you need, and then figure out what it takes to actually become a CMO. So here's my secret formula for the people who are bottom line kind of people. This is your bottom line. Know your superpower, know your business, know your stakeholders, and build a personal brand around it. And I'm going to go deeper into each one of these. But if you want to write it down, just write down superpower plus business plus stakeholders together, building your personal brand. And I'm going to go into what it means. It doesn't mean putting stuff on LinkedIn. That's not what personal brand means. A lot of people mistake that as a personal brand. And I'm going to go and share some of the examples around this. But that's your formula. People who are in bottom line, this is what you need. So let's talk about superpower. Being intentional is more important than being brilliant. If you figure out how you can be super intentional about the things that matter to you, you will improve. Whatever you put time in, you're going to get better at. So think about it this way. Again, this is an hour presentation that I'm going to combine. So I'm going to go super fast on some of the things, but I don't want you to miss on some of these ideas. If you're a CMO or want to become a CMO, you probably fall into one of these three categories. Either you're a dreamer, which means you're a big idea brand person. You're a doer. You have marketing chops and ops, and you're coming in from demand gen ops perspective. Or you're a driver. You try to get things done quickly, faster. You're a launch person. When people actually come to you, when you say, you know what, we need the website up tomorrow, you're the person. We need to have this event done together. You're the person. We need to launch this big customer session together. You're the person. So whichever you are, you have to pick that. And you probably already have made the determination without even me talking much because of the words, dreamer, doer, or driver. So maybe drop in the chat and share with everybody, who are you? Who do you think you are? Are you a dreamer? Are you a doer? Or are you a driver? And the reason it's important to know is that once you figure out who you are, it's actually going to really help you figure out what to work on. So for example, real quick, if you're a dreamer, you probably need to focus on how do you get your ideas to life quickly. If you're a doer, you probably need help with figuring out your picture of success, why we do what we do. You need to ask those questions. And if you're a driver, well, team building is going to be really hard because you're a hard charging leader. So you need to figure out how do you not get burned out, how your team doesn't get burned out, and how do you become more of a kinder person, not just to people, but to yourself. So you can do that faster. So figuring this out is going to help a lot for you. So here's something I want you to write down. What's your superpower? What's your blind spot? One of those three things. And then figure out and write this down, what type of company you want to be in order to become a CMO. This is vitally important. What size of company you want to be in to transform. And when you write this down, this will help you finish this sentence. I am a dreamer, best suited for a CMO at startup size company. I'm a doer, best suited for a public size company, right? Big company. So this is going to help you first recognize where and how you need to start focusing on. It's really doing ABM in some sense around what you want to get done. All right. Second one. This is about knowing your business. Now you can't be great at all things. You can be great at one thing, and you have to figure out what that one thing is. So as a CMO, you're going to need to know these things. You may not be great at all of it, but you need to know. You need to be a great storyteller. So if you can tell the story of your company and your business and your customers, who would? You need to understand the business metrics, not open rate, click-through rate, like Alessandra was talking about. You need to learn business metrics because your CFO needs to be your best friend. A little bit on that in a second. And you need to learn how to manage and run a team. This you can do today, even if you don't have a team, but trying to shadow other people, trying to ask other people to help you give a chance to lead certain teams. So pick which one of these three things you're good at and figure out how do you get good at the other thing. So here's your task at hand. Identify how you become a better storyteller. Maybe you start Toastmasters, or maybe you start LinkedIn Live, maybe you start podcast. I don't know, but figure it out. Identify what business metrics you need to learn. Go and spend time with your VP of Finance or CFO and learn what matters to them. What matters to them. You will learn a lot more about your business than you know today. And then identify the gaps of people around you and say, you know what, I don't know this. So either hire, if you're a manager right now, people that will support you with that and help you learn, or actually spend time with those people so you get better at that. Very few people do that. This is one of the big reasons why people stay in their lane and they just don't know what other things are happening in the organization to move up. So write this down. I'm going to focus on, very specifically, I'm going to focus on whatever it might, storytelling, maybe it is business metrics, maybe it is team building by doing XYZ thing every day. If it's storytelling, I'm going to do TEDx stuff. I'm going to try to Toastmasters. I'm going to try to be on other people's podcasts. Whatever it is, get better at it. Get better at it. All right, number 3, know your stakeholders. This is a hard lesson I learned. Like, trust is built in small moments, like really, really small moments. I always thought that, you know what, I can actually have trust built in a way where that allows me to see other things happen. Well, maybe I could do this big initiative and that will take care of it. No. Small things. You do small things great, you get bigger responsibility. You do that great, you get bigger responsibility. And here's another thing. I've never seen anybody who is super busy get promoted. I've never seen anybody who's super busy get promoted, because if you're too busy, I'm going to literally walk away from you because you're too busy. So don't take that as a badge of honor that you're super busy or super worked out. You need to actually look and say, you know what? How do I take different responsibilities? How do I delegate others? How do I work on the biggest challenges of a business? That's really what gets you in those big roles. So here's the thing where that might make you uncomfortable. If you want to be a CMO, you have to make friends with your CEO, your CFO, and your CRO. Most people understand CRO, your chief revenue officer, or if you're chief sales officer, marketing typically kind of has a relationship with that team, but may not be at that level. But CFO, you may not even think about it. But guess what? If you don't know how to put a budget together, if a CFO can't say, oh, I trust Adam or Jill or Sophia to put this budget together, or they're going to return value in it, he or she is going to say to the CEO, I'm not sure if that person is the right person because I just don't trust them. I don't know enough of them. So if you're not spending enough time with these people, you're actually not going to ever become in that role. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest lessons for me was the time I spent with my team was actually less than the time I spent with my peers. Repeat that again. It's counterintuitive. The time I spent with the peers was way more than the time I spent with my team. Why? Because if I get my peers and we are all always in agreement and we are moving in the top business priorities, I can actually have the right people on my team to lead my team. So I'm spending time with 1 or 2 people on my team more who are the leaders, who are my champions, but then I'm spending almost 70% of my time with my executive team or customers outside. Big difference on where you spend time. That matters. So here's what I want you to write down. Who makes you the most uncomfortable? Is it your CEO? Is it your CFO? Maybe it is your CRO. But trust me, if you reach out to them today and say, hey, I just want to spend an hour knowing what you do, what's the most important thing for you, how I can learn more about our business to drive and make sure that I'm always focused on the right priorities, it's going to make them think that you have potential. It's going to make them think like, you know what? I need this person on my team. So if nothing else, it's just a good thing for you. But more importantly, it will help you reimagine what's important to them. So write this down. Third homework for you. I'm going to build strong relationship with either one of them by doing H1. And the funny thing is, you don't even have to do it if you're uncomfortable in your company. You can reach out to people outside your company, especially now, and they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll spend 15 minutes with you. Tell them what I do, what's my important business. And it's amazing how many people don't do that and take advantage of it. All right, last one. Build a personal brand. Why? Because no one hires the invisible. Have you hired an invisible person that you don't know about, don't ever heard about, nobody knew about that person? No. Why would somebody put you in a CMO position? Why would somebody say, you know what, that person is great and can go through the walls for you? It's really, really hard to imagine a time when people would do that. Well, that's not going to happen. So what you need to know in here is that you need to get out there. And it might not mean to be on LinkedIn, as I was saying in the early part. It's actually mean that internally in your company, you need to spend more time with people all around you. You need to get into positioning conversation, be fly on the wall for that, get and be part of the first call deck that your company is putting together, part of maybe there's an advisory group or a professional services group, be part of that group and say, you know what, I want to listen to every single call. Everybody's now using either Gong or Chorus or one of these recording systems. So why not listen to your top sales pitches? Why not listen to your customer calls? Why not listen to churn calls as to why customers feel, and then actually get on those calls and learn what your findings are. You'll find incredible value, but more importantly, your management team will recognize you. So identify how you're going to build your personal brand. And it happens one day at a time. When you start, don't look back for 6 months. Just keep going for the next year or so. But it has to be a muscle. It has to be a habit. And for that, you have to figure out and write this down, which is I will do blah. Daily, weekly, or monthly. I would write about it. I will blog about it. I'll create a podcast about it. I will listen to calls around it. I will share my thoughts with it. I will listen to what customers and sales people are saying about it. You have to do it daily, weekly, monthly, because you have to build a muscle around it, and it will change the game for you. So there you have it. In a record speed. I know I've talked super fast, but as I said, we can go super deep in it later on and hit me up what makes sense to you. But that's your formula. That's your formula. Know your superpower, know your business, know your stakeholders, and you build a personal brand around it. A lot of people say, where do I start? And maybe get overwhelmed. And maybe you're like, well, I understand this, but I don't really know that. Well, I will say this. You can literally write this down right now. You could say, you know what? I'm a dreamer. And I need to focus on metrics, business metrics. And I want to build a relationship with the CFO. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to publish my views weekly. That's it. That's all you need. You need to put like 4 words and start working towards it. The difference many times is the act of doing, not act of thinking. And we over proportionally thinking is like, jazzed in, like as if somebody has a cigar and looking outside the window as a philosopher. But the reality is the act of doing is really what gets you there. What gets you there is big. So as I said, I want to finish on this. Less than 1% of the marketers will even have a shot. And I want you to recognize it, not even have a shot. So if you want that shot, you need to get uncomfortable and do things that you typically won't do in your role. And I'm part of a community called Peak Community. There are about 300 plus, I think about 350 now, CMOs and emerging CMO, where we get 1% better every single week. We talk about this. We have events around it. There are courses around it, all kinds of stuff. So if you want to join that, check it out. There are tons of people just focused on this. This is not for somebody who talks about just SEO and pay-per-click. This is about the hard stuff. How do you become? And our goal is to at least make 1,000 people CMOs this year. So let's see where we land up with that. But that's it.
Wow, Sangram, that was awesome. It was 15 minutes of a lot of inspiration, I think. And also the Peak community that you're referring to, I just sent it out as a call to action with a link. So anyone who wants to check it out, just click on the read more link. But
awesome.
yeah,
that's like an hour-long thing that I just tried to cram it into one, because I was maybe I would just talk about the dreamer, doer, driver, because you could go deep just on that to figure out your real strength and jump in, as you know. But I'm amazed how many people are not looking at the right things. And I just wanted people to walk away with saying, you know what, I want to be a CMO. I'll do whatever it takes. Or like, I'm scared to death. I never want to do that. Either way, you need to pick a side and go, because if you don't pick a side, I hate when people talk around their dinner table. So I wish I did this. Don't do that. Like, just go do it or don't do it. Don't wish for it. Go for it.
Exactly. That's awesome. And the chat is exploding. Let's see here what we have. We have a lot of dreamers. We have some people that are drivers, dreamers, doers. All of 3. Is that even possible? And Sandra says, I'm a doer and a driver. Can't I be both?
Well, so here's the deal with that. Like, nobody likes to be in a bucket. Like, raise your hand if you like to be in a bucket. Like, nobody wants anybody to be in a bucket. So I get it. But there is a thing inside of you that is dominant, that just comes naturally. I call it the gift that you have. So for me, my gift is dreamer, right? I dream ideas. I talk about the future as if it's present, like, or almost sometimes it happened, because I dream about these things and I feel like that is my gift and I want to continue to focus on it. And I can very quickly get into a do or driver mode to get it done. But that's my gift as a dreamer. If I stop dreaming, I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. So you should think about your gift as something that comes so naturally to you that you don't even have to think. The other one, you have to work at it. And the more you spend time on it, it makes you kind of less and less happy. So the idea is that, can you be all? Well, here's the thing. If you're all, you'll be average. But if you're best at one thing, you'll be exceptional, you'll be remarkable. Mm-hmm. So focus on that and double down on that one. Don't try to be one leg here, one leg there. Actually embrace who you are, what your gift is, and just go for it, own it.
That's such an awesome advice. This presentation is hot on fire. Agree. So interesting. I love it. Awesome. Which are the biggest differences for the CMO role 5 years ago compared to today?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I think 5 years ago, or even like, for me, with Terminus, with Pardot and Salesforce and all those things, I feel there was an element where I used to imagine that, well, I just need to become more data driven, like, data analytics. I need to just talk about business metrics. And if I'm able to do that, that's great. And what I learned is like, that's great. But what's even more important, which was the mind-blowing thing that I shared, hopefully nobody missed that, is how much time I spent with my peers. It was overarchingly more important than actually the work that I was doing, because because here's something that people don't understand. Your entire career as a CMO is based on the fact what others think of you, not what you do. It's just what your perception of who you are and how you understand the problem, how you articulate that, how you help them frame it. And you are the facilitator of your business. That's what a CMO is. They're a facilitator of the business. There's always a fire. If product is not selling well enough, it's marketing's fault. If expansion is not happening, marketing, can you run a customer campaign, right? If nobody knows about your brand, hey, what's marketing doing? Run a social. So there's everybody will have opinion about it, right? I posted about this too. Everybody tells marketers what to do. Nobody tells that to a plumber or an engineer. Like, hey, here's how you tighten a screw. Like, nobody would even dare to dream to say that. But we would. Everybody tells what a marketer should do. So what's important to know, especially in the last 5 years, is that it's not what you're really the area like graphic design or demand gen or product marketing. It's not that. It's actually, do you understand the business well enough that you can always be a facilitator to the problems your business have? And that requires you to spend all the time you can with your peers and the customers as opposed to your team. And you need to hire the right people on your team so that you can spend time with those two people, but you're not spending time with everybody. And it was hard for me as someone who's a people person to do that. But that is a big lesson.
Yeah, great insights and great answers. I'm just reading the question because there's so many. How do we aim to become a CMO if we work for an SME?
So what's the difference? You're an SME, like subject matter expert for something? Well, or is it an SMB, like a small, medium-sized business?
Yeah, I think it's a small business they are referring to here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be a CMO of a small business, or it really doesn't matter. Ultimately, what changes is the what you do as a small business. You actually might wear 20 different hats. And a CMO was actually not a CMO. You're more of an operator CMO there. When you become at a big size company like 100 million or more, then you start becoming more strategic. CMO, which is more of a business partnership of CMO. But either case, I think you would find is you need to figure out where you want to land the plane, which is why one of the questions was, I want to be a CMO at what size company is a very important question to answer. Once you figure that out, it would be great. For example, I'd be a really bad CMO for a super big public company who doesn't want to change, who doesn't want to take a stand, who doesn't want to challenge the status quo, I'll be really bad. Like imagine me as a CMO of a Shell gas company. Like it will be horrific for them, right? And horrific for me. So it would be tremendous. So it's not like you are a bad CMO. It's just that you need to find your lane of genius, whichever that is, SMB or mid-market or startup or public, and actually do that. And then that way you never become an average. You actually become remarkable.
That's so true. That's great. Great. Thank you, Sangram. Standing applause. The presentation available. Yes, it will be recorded and sent out. Technology is changing so fast. So should the future CMO be tech data oriented?
Data is only as good as you tell a story around it. So I can spin it in 3 different ways. If you are a data person, you know this, that you can put the data in whatever way you want and you can spin a story around it if you're a good marketer. So to me, it is not that. For example, you go in a board meeting as a CMO, you'll attend board meetings, right? And as a CMO, you would say, CMO speak, if there are typically 4 to 6 board meetings that happen, CMO speaks maybe at 1 or 2 max. They might sit in there, but they only speak at 1 or 2. Your CRO, your CFO, your chief product officer, they're speaking at every one of them. And you might think like, well, that means I don't have a seat at the table. No, your job is a facilitator. It goes back to it again. They should be talking about you. They should be making sure that, hey, marketing is actually driving our business by creating our product launches this way. They should be saying, well, marketing helped us do this campaign that's created our brand. So now we get more RFPs in it. So that's really what you want. You can show all the data like, hey, look at our traffic to the website and all that stuff. Those are all vanity. If the pipeline and the deal per size is not increasing, you're not doing your job as a marketer. No matter how much brand awareness you have, if the deals are not bigger and if pipeline is not growing and if your revenue is not growing, you're fired.
Yeah. Word. Great. And then we have a comment from our next speaker, AJWilcox. Sangram is my hero, and I think we all can sign off on that one. AJ, good advice. Yeah. Charlotte is asking, I would love to hear more. Will you have any events in the coming future, Sangram? Have you written a book? Please do it.
I should write a book on this for sure. But I created a whole course in it in the peak community for emerging CMOs. As I said, one of my goals, because I was doing one at a time, it just unscalable. So the whole peak community is around helping 1,000 marketers become CMOs in the next 1 year. So there is a whole course, there's a whole community. So it's not just me, there are other CMOs. So you can have public company CMO perspective, manufacturing CMO, healthcare CMO, tech CMO. So you can actually find, because I'm just one voice. I can tell you stuff, but if you're in healthcare, if you're in a small business, if you're in large, there are different problems that you're dealing with. So you need to make sure that you have a community around you that will help you get there. You can't do it on your own. And I found out the hard way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. And Sangram, thank you so much. I know you are a busy guy, so we can't hold you here longer, but thank you so much for today. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, folks. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Sangram.
Take care, Sangram. Take care. Okay. All right. So Jacob, I think we are ready for today's last speaker.
Yeah. Wow. Already here in the agenda. Awesome. Well, the last speaker, but not the least one, is a dear friend to us. It's AJWilcox. And AJ is actually, from what we understand, the world's biggest spender on LinkedIn advertising. So he's definitely an expert in this area. And he have been doing this for over 10 years. In 2014, he started his company, B2 Linked, which is an expert agency in LinkedIn advertising. And he has managed hundreds of accounts and a truckload of advertising budgets for LinkedIn campaigns. So with that, he will today share his insights and thoughts about the power of LinkedIn ads in 2021 and what we should be thinking about. So with that short presentation, AJ, it's so good to have you here in this event. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, and we're excited to hear what you're on your mind today.
Oh, yes. And
Okay.
you guys are amazing. This is the last talk of the day, and you're on time. It's amazing. Good job running the event.
I'm actually impressed. We we have to stick to the schedule all day, so it's yeah. I have to say I'm impressed as well. So good to
Yeah.
have you again, AJ.
Awesome.
Yeah. So bring it.
Should we launch into it?
Yeah, you can just take it away. We hear you and we see you, and you can just you press your slides back and forth whenever you feel ready.
Perfect. Okay, so starting here with we're talking about LinkedIn ads and the opportunity that you have in 2021. I'm going to advance to the next slide. Did you guys see that when it moved? Think we're good?
We're good. We're good.
Perfect. All right. I don't need any more introduction, but I want to tell you about the wonderful things that you have with LinkedIn ads. The first is the very best business targeting of any platform on the planet. But my favorite part about this is that this is available at near perfect scale, especially in North America, where the majority of white collar professionals have a LinkedIn profile. But all over the world, LinkedIn is growing massively. It's growing a lot faster outside of North America, where it started, than within. So it's very, very rare when someone comes to me with a larger budget than they're able to spend on their ideal target audience. And then the other special thing about LinkedIn is that we as users keep it up to date. It is the record of who we are professionally. And so the majority of people are going to go and update LinkedIn before they tell their friends, before they, before they really announce it anywhere else. So when you're advertising, you're getting access to exactly the right people, and it's not old data. It's not people who used to have that job title 6 months ago or a year ago or anything like that. Also, when someone's on LinkedIn, they are thinking in the right business mentality. They are thinking about their job and their career. And of course, when you're trying to target a business professional, most of the time it's because you have something to add to their life, to their career. And then LinkedIn usually closes the largest deal sizes of any of the different channels. So if your goal is whale hunting rather than net fishing, getting the massive companies, the ones that would be a huge win versus the smaller deals that are just kind of for cash flow, then LinkedIn really does a great job. But the one thing that we all know as advertisers, and Cecilia knows this really well, it's crazy expensive compared to the other ad channels out there. Like on Facebook in North America, we pay anywhere between about $2 to $4 per click. But on LinkedIn, we're going to pay $8 to $12 per click. And LinkedIn actually just released their own benchmarks. They didn't release it publicly. It was just to partners. But they showed a benchmark of $15 per click, which is crazy. Our clients don't pay that much. And I'll give you some of those tips. But because the cost per click is so high, it means that you've got to have a pretty large deal size and a large lifetime value of a customer to really make it work. And so what I tell people is if you're paying $8 to $12 per click in North America, you probably want to have a $15,000 or higher lifetime value. But of course, if you're paying, like let's say you're targeting in Europe, or let's say Eastern Europe, where the cost per click is like $3 to $4, then it would scale down. You might be in the $4,000 to $5,000 lifetime value range. But you've got to make sure that the end business objective is going to work, considering that their prices are so high. It also works quite well for white collar professionals if you're trying to recruit them. So if you want to hire, let's say, a new IT manager, you can target people who are already IT managers with an ad that says like, hey, you look qualified. Do you want to apply? And your HR team and your recruiters will thank you for getting better quality candidates than they can get. It also works quite well for higher education, like MBA programs, for instance, because there is good targeting around who someone is educationally as well. There are a whole bunch of different ad formats, but I want to spoil this for you. There are only 2 ad formats that I would recommend starting out with. And I'll show these here on the first 2 slides. I'll show you what the rest are, but I'll tell you exactly why you should be paying attention to just these first 2 if you're just starting out. So first off, the best ad format for starting is the single image sponsored content. Now, sponsored content is the kind of ad that shows up in your newsfeed. The newsfeed, it's the homepage on both the mobile app on LinkedIn, as well as if you just go to a browser on the desktop and type in LinkedIn. And that means if you're in that top position, which is the second item in someone's newsfeed, a lot of your target audience are going to see your ads. Even if they don't click on them, there's a lot of availability. It's also a really simple ad format. You have text up above the image, you have text down below the image, and then an image itself. And that's pretty straightforward. If this isn't getting good response, good performance, chances are you either have to adjust the ad copy at the top or maybe switch out the image for something that's a little bit more eye-catching. And that's really all. If you were running a video ad, you'd have a lot of different things to troubleshoot and test to figure out why are people not taking action here. Expect somewhere a little bit less than about 0.5% click-through rate on these ads. And so if you're benchmarking your own performance and you say, ooh, I have a 0.7% click-through rate, and we know the average is somewhere between about 0.4 to 0.5%, then I'm doing well. This is a great middle of the road kind of ad format. And so this is why we suggest starting out with it. But the next ad format that I'm going to recommend is really the polar opposite. This one is text ads. These were the original ad format that LinkedIn came out with in 2008. And they are way over in the right rail, and they're only available on desktop. And look at that click-through rate. The average click-through rate is 0.025%. So that means 2.5 clicks out of every 10,000 times these ads are shown. So they're hidden over in the right rail. They are not clicked on very often. So why is this redhead recommending to me that we run these as one of our favorite ad formats? Well, the reason why is they are ultra low risk. Because they don't get clicked on very often, it's really hard to spend a massive budget. It's hard to overspend a budget. But even more important, this is LinkedIn's cheapest ad format. So you get to use all of the same targeting as all of the other ad formats. It's LinkedIn's very best targeting. And you can show this ad that appears over and over and over, pretty much on every new page that one of your prospects visits. So you get a ton of free branding impressions. And you'll, on average, pay $3 to $5 per click, which is about half of what you'd pay for sponsored content. So hard to spend a big budget, but these do so well. They're so efficient by themselves. And then you consider adding them together. So you have sponsored content running, and then you have these text ads that are showing pretty much on every page. And what happens is people see your text ads. It might even be subliminally, just in their mind. But then by the time they see your sponsored content ad, they're thinking, oh, wow, I've heard of these guys before. They must be legit. And that costs next to nothing because they have a whole bunch of free branding impressions. Okay, those are the main 2 you want to start out with. I'll roll forward and show you the other ones just so you're aware. There's one called dynamic ads that takes your prospect and it puts their picture in the right rail image. It's the same ad format as text ads, but instead of sharing that text ad block with 2 other advertisers, you get it all to yourself. They're a little bit cheaper than sponsored content, but they are in the same inventory as text ads, so it's kind of hard to spend a budget. They don't show very often. Then you have message ads. Message ads are LinkedIn's most expensive ad format. Rather than paying only when someone clicks, when they take an action on your ad, with message ads, you pay per person that you send this message to. It shows up in their inbox. It's kind of like a cold email. and you're going to pay, at least in North America, 35 to 65 cents per person you send it to. In Europe, it's probably closer to 15 to 35 cents. But what you should understand about this ad format, you're going to pay to send it to someone. Only 50% will open it, and then only 3% of those will click on it. So if you're calculating your cost per click, you're going to be in the $20 to $50 range pretty quickly. So I really only recommend this ad format for those who have a really special, like a VIP kind of offer, something that feels like if you got it as a cold email, you'd be excited about the opportunity and you wouldn't just mark it as spam because it's like spam email. Very similar to message ads, there's one called conversation ads. This is LinkedIn's newest ad format, and we do have a couple new ad formats coming out in the next couple months. But this is the newest one that we have available to us. It's the same thing as message ads, except instead of an email, it's a chat. And you can give them, you can ask them a question, and then based on what they select, you can lead them down a different path and give them different calls to action. Because it's a little bit more that you can ask from someone, we find that these are usually about 30% more efficient than message ads. Then we have video ads. Video ads are just insanely expensive on LinkedIn. So if you've had success with your video creative on other platforms, absolutely try this out. But otherwise, stick to the first two. We have carousel ads, which are very much the same thing as what Facebook has. We don't find any particular benefit to using these. So if you need multiple images next to each other, feel free to use them. And then one that we really, really like, this is kind of an add-on to existing ads. If you are using anything that's in the newsfeed that they call sponsored content, or any of the messaging ad formats, message ads or conversation ads, you can add on a lead gen form onto the ads themselves so that you can skip your landing page entirely rather than waiting for your page to load and dropping someone into an experience that they don't recognize. You can keep them within LinkedIn, and when they interact with the ad, a drawer will slide down with your form fields, and everything that LinkedIn knows about them is pre-filled. These are called lead ads on Facebook. YouTube even just started launching these. They're really, really effective for those advertisers who don't have really well-proven funnels or landing page experiences, especially on mobile. Of course, you'll want to get the leads out. So if you have Eloqua, Marketo, Salesforce, HubSpot, LiveRamp, and a few other direct partners of LinkedIn, those leads will go directly into your CRM. But if you don't, there's always Zapier, and the $20 per month plan will do nicely. There's some great targeting available to us on LinkedIn. Like I said, this is the reason we pay LinkedIn the money that we do. We can target people by job title, which it's the most expensive way to target because everyone uses it. So if you can use some of the others, you might find a discount. You can target by the department someone works in, their level of seniority. You can target them by the skills they've listed in their profile because you can choose up to 50 skills to attach to yourself. You can also target the names of groups that people have joined, which is amazing. If I go out of my way to go and join a group about LinkedIn advertising, you could imagine whatever my job title is, I'm probably really passionate about LinkedIn ads. We can also layer on the company targeting, like what industry and what company size someone has to be. We can even target by individual company name, and account-based marketing and is all the rage right now in advertising. But LinkedIn has been able to do this really since it came out in 2008. You can target by someone's education, the normal demographics that you'd expect, like age, gender, location. And then you can combine the vast majority of this targeting into a really hyper-targeted audience where you're really requiring a lot of them. They have the right title, in the right size of company, in the right industry, and in the right geography. And then we also like to use exclusions to get rid of the people who wouldn't be a good fit for us. things like excluding your competitors is pretty cool. The most important thing you can do with your LinkedIn ads campaign if you want success is to offer value before you ask for their information. And so what we find for the most part, if we're paying LinkedIn's high prices to send them to a blog post, that's providing a lot of value, but you as a marketer, you're not going to see the conversions just pouring in because, you know, blog posts have a low conversion rate. So we want to stay away from the really low friction stuff like, hey, come and see this thing for free. But we don't want to ask too much, like the really high friction stuff like, hey, come and talk to our sales rep or open up your wallet and buy something. The sweet spot for LinkedIn is where you're saying, hey, here's this free cheat sheet or checklist or guide or ebook, or come attend this free in-person event. There's something where you're going to teach them, you're going to provide real value. And in exchange, you as the marketer, you're asking for their contact info. And then your sales team can reach out to start a conversation that hopefully turns into a relationship. For anyone who wants to get started using LinkedIn ads, we released our checklist, and this is for free. It's the same checklist we give to our clients when we onboard them. It's the 8 things you need in order to get started. Every new ad channel usually takes a significant amount of trial and error and where is that button? How do I get started? This will just make it really easy. It's what I wish I had for every new ad channel I test out. It's b2linked.com/checklist. I'm also the host of the LinkedIn Ads Show podcast. So if you want to hear more, basically, if you want a masterclass on LinkedIn ads, definitely come and listen to the podcast on any player. Just search for LinkedIn ads, the LinkedIn Ads Show, or go to that Linktree link, and that'll get you to everything. Okay, with that being said, we get to the Q&A portion. So Cecilia, take me away. Take me wherever you want.
Yes. You always get so many questions, AJ. So let's start here and see. Great presentation, informative. Which LinkedIn targeting would you use if your product is a niche product?
Well, it really depends on the niche, because if you're going after someone who uses a certain kind of software, so let's say they are, adding off of Sangram's talk that you guys just attended, if I want to target someone who has experience with Terminus, I wouldn't be able to use job title because people aren't going to put like Terminus admin as their job title. They're going to be a marketing manager or something. But I could target by having a Terminus skill or an account-based marketing skill. I could target by account-based marketing groups, or maybe even like Terminus user groups. So if you even want to add in the chat, like what kind of niche you're going after, let me know. I can go a little bit deeper.
Yep. Perfect. Do that. And in the meantime, I love the podcast. Excellent. Great podcast. And we have a question from Frederick. LinkedIn, Google, Facebook are so huge in paid marketing, seemingly continuing to grow. What are your thoughts on this? Will cost per click keep increasing?
Yeah, this is the thing we're always going to fight with paid media platforms. They're all based off of competition. And of course, the more people who have success and go and tell their friends, you listen to a guy like me talking, and then you go out and try LinkedIn, and you're going to increase competition on the platform. So because we know that every platform out there is just going to get more expensive, I think that means that we as marketers need to get in as early as possible and test. If you can find out what works and what doesn't, and you're ahead of the game, you can optimize things so as prices keep going up, your performance also increases and you'll be ahead of your competition. So that's my best recommendation, is get in early, find what works, and then as you raise the competition, you can price your competitors out and you can keep using the channel.
That's awesome. And the niche Lena was referring to was an app for car dealership.
Oh, okay, great. So what I would do is I would target the industry of automotive. So that will get you people who potentially car dealerships, but also car manufacturers and stuff. And then I would probably overlay a skill on top, like like dealership skills, so automotive sales or automotive repair, something like that. And I would probably also want to go with a seniority kind of filter. So if you're selling to car dealerships, for instance, you probably don't want to show ads to car salesmen or saleswomen, but you do want to get to the management. So if you go and choose a seniority of, let's say, manager and above, you'll probably get those folks who are there in leadership. I think that would be my best niche suggestion.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. And then another question. What we offer is complicated technical engineering software. Any advice on this?
Yes. So if what you have is so different and so disruptive compared to what is on the market, you might be able to show ads that just say, hey, our software can do this. And people might be willing to sign up for a demo. But for the most part, people aren't willing to jump right to a demo for a product they haven't heard of before. So what you should do is release content. Let's say it's a free guide or a free ebook or something that teaches them how to solve a problem or satisfies a curiosity that they face in their company. And you want to really hit home on something that is a core differentiator of your product versus someone else's. So if you know that your product helps them with designing engineering products, for instance, then you want your ebook or whatever to be about how to design better, how to solve the design problems. Mm-hmm. And by downloading that piece of content, they're signaling that they have that problem. And that gives you the perfect way to follow up with them afterwards to start a conversation to see if they might be interested in a demo.
That's a great answer. That's exactly how we consult our clients to succeed as well. And then we have another question. What targeting you will use to promote a security IT solution in COVID-19?
I actually, I kind of divorce in my mind the targeting from the audience and also from the offer itself. So no matter who I'm going after, I'm going to use the same types of targeting. So I might use job title targeting layered on with the company size and or industry. I might use the job function, so someone's department with their level of seniority. I might use skills with seniority, or I might use groups with seniority. And I might use all four of those at the same time in different campaigns so I can tell what works better and what doesn't. So like if it's IT security, you probably don't want to use job function with seniority because that would just get you all IT managers or directors or VPs. But if you go for IT security titles or IT security skills and IT security groups, that would be the best way, I think, to hit that audience. And same thing goes for everyone else's audience. Consider that kind of approach.
That's very smart. And then we have great inspiration. Thank you so much, AJ. LinkedIn has a feature button, find more prospect like these. Do you ever recommend it?
No, never.
No, you hate that one, right?
I do, yeah. So it's called audience expansion internally. And the concept is, hey, LinkedIn, I'm paying you a lot of money for this premium traffic. I don't want you to go and put people into my audience that aren't a good fit. And so they will automatically check that box for every campaign. And so the first thing you should do is go in and uncheck it when you create a new campaign. If you're paying the premium prices that you are for LinkedIn, be ultra specific about who you want to go after and don't let LinkedIn muddy that targeting.
Totally agree. Any insights into how LinkedIn algorithms work? What should you avoid or prioritize on company showcase pages to increase reach? Also, an experience with the new product pages and how to make the most of that feature.
Oh man, I could teach an entire class on this. But what you're talking about is the organic side of LinkedIn, so outside of ads, because the ads algorithm is such that when you pay, you get shown. But on the organic side of LinkedIn, when you show something, the key to getting it to go viral, for lots of people to see it, is if you can get someone to like, especially comment or share that post. So from a showcase page, from a company page, even from a personal post, your goal in writing the content should be, what can I say to get someone to want to comment? And that can be asking questions, asking for feedback, giving someone praise for something that you've noticed. All kinds of different approaches that would make someone want to comment. But on LinkedIn, when someone does any sort of social action, especially comment, LinkedIn goes, ooh, there's value here. And then they start showing it to people outside of your network. So that's what you want, is get comments.
Awesome, great advice. And I'm just keep reading here, AJ. It's incredible how many questions you get here. If I have a huge budget, is it better to spend it in North America than Europe? And is it okay to use video ads?
Yeah, so where you target, I mean, depending on where you do business best, we know in North America, the prices are going to be higher, but you also might have better prospects there. You might be able to get a larger proportion of big companies if you're trying to target large enterprises. But you know, if you target outside of the US, you're going to see lower prices. So with big budgets, I might recommend targeting all of the above. Like, try some campaigns that are focused on North America, try some that are focused on Europe, some that are on APAC or DACH, wherever you want to try. Just make sure you keep them separate. Because when you go back to, and what I mean by separate is in separate campaigns where you know that this one's only Europe and this one's only North America. Because when you go to analyze your performance, if you can find out that, wow, Europe is, let's say, half the cost, but lead quality only suffers by 20% or something like that, then you go, great, let's go all in on Europe. And, oh, North America is twice as expensive, but leads are only 20%. Better for us, then I'm going to shift as much budget to Europe as I can.
Great advice. Great advice. And then we have more questions here. How true is it for LinkedIn advertising? No, sorry. Here was one first. Do you have any tips, or have you noticed any trends for what works regarding designs for sponsored content images?
Yeah. Images on sponsored content, I like to think of as billboards on the side of the road. The goal of the creative is not to convert someone. It is, and it's not even to qualify someone. It's just to get their attention. So if LinkedIn is very blue, gray, and white in its color palette, you want your image to stand out so that someone will, we call it a thumb stopper, someone will stop scrolling to pay attention to what you wrote in your ad copy. So opposite of blue on the color wheel, a designer will know this, is orange. So if your imagery can contain oranges, reds, greens, anything that will contrast LinkedIn's color palette, then you're going to do a good job. Also, try to follow the billboard rule. Have 7 or fewer words in your image, because again, the job of that image is not to tell someone about your product or convince them to convert. It's just to get their attention to your ad copy that you've written very well. So whether you test illustrations or people's faces or a picture of the product or whatever, test all those things and find out what works better, but make sure that you follow those rules. Few words and bright colors.
Amazing. Great. And then do you have time for like 2 more questions, AJ?
Yes. Hey, bring it on.
How true is it for LinkedIn advertising? The audience need 9 to 12 contacts with brand offer through the ads to buy something.
This is really hard to answer because LinkedIn doesn't give us good frequency metrics around it. So we don't know. LinkedIn will tell you, and we know the marketing axiom of, someone needs to be exposed to your brand 7 times on average before they'll consider you. I'm sure that's the case. But what we find is when we're showing the same ad to the same audience, it will perform very well for about 1 month. It's like 27 to 33 days. And then if you're watching in your performance chart by click-through rate, you'll notice that your click-through rates will start to drop off after that about 1 month. And when we look at the average frequency that occurs during that time, it's usually 2 to 3, meaning that on average, these prospects have seen the ad 2 to 3 times, and they've already decided whether or not they're going to click on this, whether or not it's interesting to them. So I think it's probably correct, but my approach is bring something that is incredibly valuable to this audience that we're going to find incredibly valuable, and let's try to get that cold traffic to become a lead, essentially, like give us their information. And if your asset is good enough, you can do that. You can get cold traffic to basically jump right to the middle of your funnel. And then it might be worthwhile to ask the prospect like how they came to find you. But long story short, probably correct, but I see 2 to 3 times before I can get someone to engage with my ads to become a lead.
Great. I agree on that one. And then we will have the last question here. Would you recommend using industry targeting as part of your audience building? I found them quite broad, particularly in tech, with all companies grouped as internet or IT services.
Yes. We love using industries, but they are incredibly broad. So what we do, like with the car dealership example, you use the best industry you can find, and then you layer on something else. So you'll layer on skills or groups or titles, seniorities to try to pare them down. You can even use exclusions. So for instance, if we use the car dealership example again, we could target anyone in automotive, and then we could exclude skills like automotive manufacturing or manufacturing processes or something like that. So we love them, but it can't be the only targeting because, like you said, it's just too broad.
Awesome, AJ. Yeah, I think that was
all.
We might have missed a couple of them, but thank you so much. It's been, like last time, awesome to have you here. People just want to know more and more and more. So that's incredible.
So thank you so much, AJ. It was a great talk you had, and thank you for answering all these kind of questions. There's so many things to know about this area, so we're really appreciating your time and sharing so freely of your competency in LinkedIn advertising. So thank you so much, AJ.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite and for hosting me, and thank you everyone for your awesome questions.
Thank you so much, AJ. Speak soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, great, Jacob. I think we're ready to go in for landing here.
Yes, friends, thank you so much for sticking with us all the way through. We have come to the end of this day, and we are so grateful for all of you who wanted to log in and spend your valuable time together with us here today and with the amazing speakers, I must say. I've learned a lot from them. And if I just from the top of my head, I must say that Christopher Engman, he learned us how to orchestrate Megadeal campaigns together with sales and marketing, and how to use ABM as an accelerator for driving those big deals. We talked with Trude about how to work with IT and make them your best friend as a marketing department, and how to get the organizational and the human side of building a team to kick ass really is important. Kayla talked about the closed loop and how to do the 1% optimization and improvement, and spent a lot of time talking to us about how she had done that at Accedian. And then we had a great talk about ABM with Alessandra, who laid out the ABM campaign at Shutterstock really well for us. And I hope we learned a lot, especially the things, how she worked closely with SDRs and the revenue team. So that was great. And Sangram, he inspired us to all try to become CMOs and drive our careers in the way, whether we want to be CMOs or not. I think that was a great inspiration. And I think it's great to step up and answer those questions to yourself. Who am I? What I'm good at? What's my superpower? What area would like to discover and push forward in my career and so on. And AJ, he is just amazing around LinkedIn and everything around LinkedIn advertising. So I'm sure we learned a lot about how to layer better company searches and so on. So with all that together, I hope we have had a good day, that we have learned something from. And I hope we see each other soon in other webinars or online events, or hopefully after the summer in live events as well. If you want to check out Bright Vision more, you can download our ebook, Lead Generation for B2B Tech Companies, or you can also check out our podcast, B2B Lead Gen podcast, where you find podcasts, basically. It's been a blast. Thank you so much. We're sending the umbrellas to everybody who got who won the questions in the early. And thank you so much, and have a great day.
Yeah, and sorry. Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Awesome. I was just gonna reply to a couple of questions that we got here.
Yeah, sorry.
A lot of people are saying thank you, and thank you so much for attending. People are wondering if we're gonna send out this. Of course, we will send out it. We send it to everyone who's registered, and then you can watch it on demand how many times you want to. And yeah, I think that was it for today.
Yes, and thank you, Cecilia, for keeping it together. And have a great day, everybody. So good to meet you, and talk soon again.
Bye, guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.